What's the date?
The 13th.
13th?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the 15th, it's the 13th.
It's the Wednesday the 13th.
Yeah.
No one here said the 15th.
Oh, okay,
No
good.
one said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Except you when you said it's not
Well,
the 15th.
here we go.
And then me when I said no.
Don't
one
make
said
me
the
take too long. I'll forget the date. Let me start while I know it's the 15th.
15th. Total classic.
It's the CultureSmash Cast, episode 390 for January the 13th, 2016.
You're right.
I know it. I'm Stephen Lackey, editor of CultureSmash.tv. To the left of me.
January 13th, Stephen.
Yeah, I said 13th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dwayne Tate, contributor.
You can't remember your name and the date to tell me.
Honest to goodness contributor, like right of this moment to CultureSmash.tv. It's only gonna get better for me.
I know it, right?
And by better I mean worse.
Continue.
It's the 13th of January, Wednesday.
Yes,
Remember
thank you.
that.
Thank you. I'm trying
Nicholas
In the
Walls.
year of our Lord, 2016.
Yes.
Yep.
In case you
I'm no Dominic.
thought it was
Yes.
True.
What about
before Common Era.
Can we get through the introductions?
Nicholas Qualls, contributor to CultureSmash.tv.
episode 390? That's easy to remember.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah,
I got
390,
that.
it's good.
I got that,
It's a
yeah.
Ford Motors. But Mike Young, contributor to CultureSmash.tv.
Is this what we have over for too? All right. And on Sofa?
Nathan Savino, contributor to CultureSmash.tv.
Sounded like a robot. Catherine Holder, contributor to CultureSmash.tv.
Nathan Savino.
I'm a gay bot.
I'm Kaylee the Cat.
No, you're not. Shut up.
I'm Zach Martin.
Don't you
contributor
dare.
to CultureSmash.tv.
She'll probably have a much
Look
more
like
different
a
list.
Don't you dare insult the
P-U-S-C? You mean P-U-S?
Oh, it's better when you whisper it.
I walked in tonight and Kaylee was like, "Oh my gosh, you're here to pet me, right?"
Oh my God. I hate it when Zach's not been here for 2 weeks. His cat withdrawals.
I like waved at her
Insulting.
in the window and stuff, and then when I opened the door, she like.
Yep, she does that to me all the time.
Well, yeah, because you're mean to her.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right, so this episode is a mess already, so I can only see what's going to happen from here forward. But we are going to recap our top 10 films of 2015. Some of us saw over 100 films.
And some of us saw over 14.
And a lot of us, like me, and I think probably Mike, are in the middle somewhere.
I'm at 32 films for the year.
Did anybody
Oh, okay, well,
actually
you're
sit down
pretty-
and count
you're-
how many you saw?
I
did.
counted new films that I saw this year, at least 16.
I tried
15.
I tried to get
Not the
close.
worst! Woo!
I tried to
Not the
get
worst. I saw
close.
16.
No, I am.
I'm in the 30s somewhere, is the best I could figure from memory, what all I saw. And then just going through Rotten Tomatoes helped remind me of some things that I'd forgotten that I had seen that I still would like to forget that I've seen.
I keep my ticket stubs, and honestly, that's.
That probably helps.
Let's talk about the honorable mention.
Well,
It's perfect
I-
here.
Zach actually went
Say
above
that.
and beyond.
Say that.
He'll
Still
be
wanna see that.
Zach provided me with his worst of list, which is pretty entertaining, especially when we start talking about some people in the room's best of lists. This should be a lot of fun.
This is going to be painful.
Serious.
Because I'm going to scowl.
Give me the water bottle. Give me the water bottle.
At least we're not going to have that, like, what was the movie last year? 42
No.
or something?
I'll be
Ah,
quiet.
Oh
years ago.
yeah, the one that Dwayne loved that Zach hated.
Now look, I'll be quiet, and I'll let you have your moment. Because I'm expecting you to give me my moment when I talk about them.
Except you have to stay sitting back because you'll get off camera.
Because I'll just scowl at
You're
you.
still off camera.
Still
Thank
off
you.
camera. Yeah, thank you. All right, so
Who's starting?
so how do we want to start?
I'll start since I'm
Mike,
all the way over here.
Okay, well, let's do this first because we all appreciate movies in a different way. I would like to hear what people's criteria for their list is. What is it that it has to? What makes it your best of list? What are your requirements? Because in my top 10 list, the very first of the article goes through what I look for in a top 10 movie, and it's probably different than what you
That
guys.
probably would have been a good thing to add when I was writing mine.
I feel like, in some regards,
You can still add it if you want.
I try to pull something from all the genres that interest me, which is typically comedy and horror. But I am not. There are a few movies on my list. There are a few movies that made my list because I knew that they were really well done films. But typically, my list and Zach's list look very different.
Wait a second. Are
So-
we going to discuss all of our top 10
We're
or
gonna
the
do
top 5?
Yeah, we're gonna do the top 10. All right, so just to put it in set the tone, I guess, a little bit. For me, it's three. There's three main elements that I look for. The first one is innovation. Was it a different kind of movie, did story-wise, or was it a different experience that I'm used to having in the theater? And then the next one is rewatchability. Can I watch it over and over again? And that doesn't mean it has to be pulpy and like something I can watch while I fold laundry. It's just something that I'll buy the Blu-ray. Is it the Blu-ray I buy and only watch when I share it with somebody, or the Blu-ray that I'll pop in and watch? It has to be something I can enjoy over and over again.
But then again, there are some movies that are absolutely fantastic and wonderful, but you can really only handle one time.
And those will could still make the list, but their rewatchability might affect their placement on the list. Yeah.
I get you.
So, and then the other one is execution, how well acted, how well directed, and how well produced.
How many murders are in it?
Exactly. How well done is the movie. And you could have a really horribly done movie, documentaries in particular, can have really poor production value, but they could hit the other two notes and still make my list. That is a tool that I use to set the order of where my movies fall on the list. So that's how I do it.
I based mine off our film ball game. And I also based it off...
I haven't actually seen the movies. I just know they've made me money.
Well, I've seen all my movies, but I used box
So they
office
can make money in the box office.
Yeah. And entertainment-wise, like, did I walk away? How it made me feel walking away, and would I want to see it again?
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, who was in the movie? One person in particular, and it's in 3 of my movies.
I know one thing that makes a big difference for me is how much I end up thinking about it.
Absolutely.
How much of a mind warmer, not earworm, but mind worm, I guess is it?
You can get antibiotics.
Which is hard because when you're trying to catch up with things late, because you obviously don't have as much time for those to really wiggle into your mind. But to me, that's because you can do all the critical stuff, but to me, I don't know if other people do that better. So to me, it's just a personal list. These are movies that kind of got to me and kind of got under my skin some way, in a good way, or sometimes not in a great way. I mean, the act of killing, that movie still
it's from last year. That was crazy. That was on both of our lists.
And not necessarily a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not be thinking about some of that.
The reason I put rewatchability on mine, I didn't used to have rewatchability on my list, but I taught myself a lesson with the Star Trek remakes. I love those movies in the theater, but watching them on DVD later, it's like these movies kind of suck. The first movie's okay. The second movie is bad.
Yeah, I still enjoyed the first movie, but I came out of the theater not really enjoying the
Curious to
second.
see if that's going to be the same way when Star Wars comes out on DVD.
I've rewatched it multiple times already.
We've all seen it a couple of times, yeah.
I gotta tell you, I was weirded out by how excited I was when the crawl came up the second time. I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen, and I'm still very happy about seeing this again. By the end of the movie, I didn't have quite that feeling. It's a little bit of a long film, but
we'll
that's
get
not
into
what we're
that
talking
when
about
we get
today.
to the list,
So,
I'm sure it's on some people's
I'm sure
list.
it's on someone's list.
For me, when I watch a film, it's mainly the technical side, camera work, direction.
Because you have no
Aspect
part.
ratio.
Aspect ratio is important, but it's also a part of acting, direction, and plot. I do take in, for example, I really liked The Martian when I saw it. Spoilers for my list: The Martian is not in my top 10 because at the end of the year, when everybody's like, "Oh man, I love The Martian," I'm like, looking back on it, I have no desire to.
Okay, this is movie talk. We're just talking.
So I'm going to get Wes Anderson
I'm saying,
to direct 2 hours of looking at a rock, and it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be on his top 10 list. It's going to be number 3 probably, and it's just a rock for 2 hours.
First off, Grand Budapest was not in my top 5 when it came out.
Okay, Catherine.
Because it had actors and story.
What is
it was a rock. It was just technical.
What is it that makes it in your top 10 list?
So it's something where I feel an immediate, it doesn't always have to be like a happy kind of gratification, but like after you watch the movie, you're like, okay, like I get it, and like this is what happened, and I am
Whoa, that's like
glad
3D.
that I watched.
Catherine's head's like 3D.
And I actually not always enjoyed watching the movie, but
You took something away.
I took something away from it, and
you.
Mike took the words out of my mouth where it stays with you. It's one of those movies that you just kind of can't forget about. And most of the movies that I didn't cram, in fact, I will say 9 out of the 10 movies on this list have stayed with me, and every time I will think about them like during the day, randomly. So
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
That's mine.
So before we start the actual list, Catherine, what are you and Nathan drinking?
Oh, we are drinking Social! So Social is a sparkling sake. It is only 88 calories, 4% alcohol, so as much as a beer. And I'm currently drinking hibiscus cucumber. There is also toasted coconut almond, which is quite delicious. And it is completely organic, so it's all stuff that's good for you. And 1% of all proceeds go to a charity organization. And so you can go check it out at socialenjoyments.com, #LiveSocial, #DrinkClean, and you can follow them at 88Social on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest.
What is this again?
Social.
The drink that makes you talk.
Okay.
My face froze.
It did. I like it. That's like the perfect place.
There we
Okay, so does anybody want to? Does anybody have an honorable mention? I have a lot of honorable
I
mentions,
have a
but
couple.
do you have one or two that you want to say? Nathan, you have something? You have one?
San Andreas.
Oh,
Are
I
you
hate
serious?
that movie.
I
fell
loved
asleep.
that movie. I loved that movie.
The only good thing
Look, I
about
think-
that
I think-
movie was
I think
Sia's-
Zach just crapped his pants a little
I
bit.
know.
No, I think the only good thing about that movie was it was Sia's cover of California Dreamin'. That was the only good thing about
I
that.
can't comment. I haven't seen it, so.
I thought it was fine.
I honestly love that movie. It had natural disaster with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I like The Rock. He just doesn't do a lot of great movies, but
No.
he's charismatic.
I
Yes.
loved it. I loved it. It was good.
All right, Catherine, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, my one honorable mention of was Tomorrowland. I really, really loved it, and it was such a nostalgia bomb, to take your phrase, of Disney. Like, the first 15 minutes, you get this little boy at the World's Fair, and he sees the Carousel of Progress, and It's a Small World, and it was every Disney kid's dream all wrapped up into one. So that's mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zach, do you have one?
I'm just gonna blow through my list.
Just
one.
One. Everybody's doing one.
One that somebody has
Number 11. Number 11. That's the one you do right now. Number 11.
No, I have 10.
No,
No,
So we're
11.
skipping Zach.
I'm
listen,
skipping you.
listen, give me 15
11.
seconds.
No,
One.
15
11.
seconds and I'll blow through.
One.
Tomorrowland, Victoria, Inside Out, Gift Straight Out, Compton's, Crimson Peak, Tangerine, Go Watch Summit, Luke, Night, Paddington, Steve Jobs, The Martian, Blood and Mercy.
But say
Stop fighting!
that's spoiler.
Stop!
Yeah, all right. So,
Alright.
yeah, whatever. I'm done with him. Mike, do you have
I
a?
get the same amount of respect as fucking hell. I'm serious here.
Well, one.
I don't talk about any of them. I just blow through them. It's the same amount of time that passes.
No. Okay. Mike,
Will someone give Zach
I
a
don't.
Kleenex?
No, I'm pretty comfortable with my two
You
list.
don't have any.
There's a pretty good demarcation. Then for once,
Okay.
for 1 year, I'm kind of no.
All right, Nico, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah. I really liked Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Mhm.
I actually just saw that one more recently, but it was a really solid spy thriller,
Mhm.
a really solid entry in the franchise. I loved
Mhm.
everybody in it. It was there wasn't as much substance to it, and which is kind of funny because some of mine aren't very substantial in that
Mhm.
respect, but it just barely edged out. But it was a fun movie.
All right, Dwayne, did you?
Nah, I'm good.
So, Nico, did you share your criteria?
No,
Okay, what's your
you skip
criteria?
over me. I know
Yeah.
this. It's okay. I know you don't like it.
No, I actually would rather hear yours than Zach's.
Most.
Just messing with you, Zach.
No, it's like, if I want to say mine, y'all talk over mine. If y'all want to say yours, I let you talk.
Oh, he's
And
crying.
it's just like,
he's crying.
I've had a really crap day.
Well, then
So-
you need to go get a social and.
Fine. If I win the lottery, I'll feel better.
Okay, good. All right, so go ahead, Nico, because I'm actually curious about yours.
The preface, I didn't see as many movies this year as I hoped I would, especially the ones that came out in the back half. But my list was mostly determined by what the earworm thing, what resonates with me that I find myself talking about, not in a bad way, because there were definitely films that stuck with me for weeks that I just ranted and railed against.
Yeah.
But no, the things that just really stuck with me that I think are well put together in terms of what they try to do with their story, with their characters, what they accomplish, which may not be necessarily as inventive or new, but what they're able to accomplish in terms of sometimes their fandoms and the reaction that they try to
I
get
get
across their audience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is going to definitely be evident as we get towards the
latter.
the upper portion of my list.
So Dwayne, is your process the five movies that you didn't like and the 10 that you liked?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
There we go.
So I think I'm pretty clear on yours, Mike. So let's start. You wanted to start. What's your number 10? That's what
I think mainly I want to start because I want to get this out of the way because I know I'm probably going to
Oh wait, I didn't say my honorable mention. It was Paddington. It was on your list too, Zach. I love that movie, just not quite enough.
At the beginning of the year, it was
The best thing I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Big year.
It was. Go ahead.
Spy.
What?
With Melissa McCarthy.
I have heard that movie come up. I kind of wish I had a
I
chance.
kind of watched it on a lark.
You're
and
fired.
I knew I was going to take you for it, but it is a wonderful movie.
What the? What?
You may not be wrong.
It's a great kind of send up of the kind of the modern spy thriller.
Oh my god.
Melissa McCarthy's great in it. It's not like she's stretching or anything. I mean, she pretty much plays that character. You kind of always, not that I've seen her in a lot of stuff, but it's a perfect role for her.
Is there a scene where they have her fall down?
Oh, so
Yeah.
she falls down a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So
But-
they're
But it's not just her. It's Jason Statham, Rose Byrne, Peter Serafinowicz, probably saying that name wrong. Miranda Hart. Everybody in it's great. It's a great ensemble piece.
Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes says it's 93%.
I told you.
What?
Jason
say.
I've never got to
Statham is
see
a
this one.
riot in it.
Well, I actually like Jason Statham, and he's proven himself to be funny in other films.
This is
Yeah,
what happens
and
when
it's-
we write off movies because it has one dumb actress in it.
Well, I write that movie off because whether it's good or not, she just annoys me, and there's no fixing
Well,
it.
and that's understandable.
There's just no fixing
That's I can sympathize with that. I don't find her quite as offensive as you do. I don't know if I find her offensive, period, really, but she's definitely a certain type of humor. But
I think my thing is
it's a pretty clever
it's
story.
the joke
too.
that Zach just made. Is does she fall? I don't like one-trick ponies, but maybe I should
But
try
that's the joke I see a lot of times is that person falls down,
Yeah.
and that's why I say, did they do that one?
But
That's
it's
such an
it's
easy
like
one to
Kevin
do.
James is kind of like the male version of that.
And I hate him too. I
And,
hate
you
him
know,
equally.
and-
It's
I've
not a
I've
male-female
seen-
thing. I hate both of them.
I've not seen Mall Cop, so I don't even know if it
I've
is
seen parts of
compared, but I can't imagine that being.
Honestly,
in this movie.
I'm much more annoyed about Kevin James.
I was about to say.
Spy is actually a great movie.
Yeah, maybe I would like him less than her.
And
Actually, you might
it's-
be right about that.
It's funny. I mean, it's just
Well, I'm
hysterical.
flabbergasted. I might have to watch it.
It's and I don't think comedy gets the respect it should. And this is a
Comedy
comedy.
is a tough. I think it's really difficult as far as being rewatchable. Once you've heard the joke, sometimes it has to be a really, really
It-
good
it
joke.
does.
I disagree with that. I really
Some of
like
my,
comedies
well,
more than
no,
other
let me
things.
justify. Some of my favorite movies, Christmas Vacation, Strange Brew, those movies are always funny to me. So there are exceptions to that, but I think generally it's tough.
I think that's one thing that makes comedy difficult.
I think-
and that's why when a good one comes along, it should be rewarded. 'Cause
Okay.
The other thing is, a lot of critics don't typically reward comedies in the same.
Sure.
Especially even though it is more difficult. I mean, to the point where I would not label The Martian a comedy movie.
No.
Not at all.
But the Golden Globes do.
Yeah.
They sure do.
But I feel like they did
That's the
that to
foreign
give
press.
Matt Damon an award. Just like
Matt
they
Damon.
did with Jennifer Lawrence and Joy.
So, yeah, something on that one.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go
Number 10.
next. We'll go, I guess, in order.
All right,
that makes sense.
We'll go around the room. All right.
My number 10 is Jurassic World. I really enjoyed this movie when it came out a lot. It goes more into that whole just feeling good nostalgia bomb that you stop looking at me.
that is one hell of a scowl.
I don't.
Wait, let me.
Can you at least
I
throw
don't
a
wanna
blanket
make
on
you
his face
upset.
because it's kind of distracting
I don't
what
want
he
to
was
make you
giving
upset,
me.
but you're just being really rude
I said
right
I wasn't
now.
going to talk.
I don't-
You
I
have to
don't-
talk.
no,
the
I
glare
don't-
is just troubling.
I don't think the glare deserves a water gun.
No, I think it's just the
Don't-
blanket. There we go. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
please-
better.
Please don't support Zach. We can't afford the steam in the room.
So Michelle in the chat room tells me that she also enjoyed Spy.
I'm
But yeah,
talking about
I had a
excellent taste.
I had a lot of fun with Jurassic World.
I knew this was coming, Zach. Actually. Yeah. Go ahead.
I ranked it pretty highly when I reviewed it when the movie came out. And
Did you?
Yeah. But overall, yeah, it's got some weak characters. I'm very sad to say, like, Vincent D'Onofrio is fairly wasted in the movie compared to his Kingpin role. So that's always going to overshadow him for 2015.
Yeah, that's probably going to say most for most of his performances.
Can I put Daredevil on this list, because I might rewrite my list and put everything down.
So it's at 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, just so.
And I think that's probably pretty fitting. I would have put it.
Well, then wouldn't you? Yeah.
I assume it's like 8, I think, maybe 9.
Yeah.
But no, I had a lot of fun.
What are you guys whispering about?
I wanted to ask, are we doing 10 all around, or each individual person do the top?
No, we're gonna do 10 all around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because there's a reason to do it that way.
yeah. But yeah, I had a lot of fun in the movie. It rekindled my joy and excitement in Jurassic Park that 2 and 3 couldn't do, and it is the second best Jurassic Park movie.
Well,
Yes.
I did enjoy the giant clear ball thing, the ball ride, even though it was made no sense in the story.
Oh, yeah,
the
it-
hamster wheel was a joy to watch.
And the ending fight was just such a thrill to my 8-year-old self.
Even though, my 8-year-old self has no problem with her in high heels. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I didn't really.
Really okay.
I got a healthy suspicion.
Hey, some women can run in heels.
Your 8-year-old self may be a little bit more mature than her.
My 8-year-old self probably would have put her in black stilettos, but that's okay. Just saying.
I think that would probably be more like your 13-year-old self, but okay.
You don't know me at 8 years old.
That's valid.
All right, Dwayne, number 10.
My number 10 was Pixels.
What the?
Oh, I forgot about that.
What the?
I
liked
actually
it.
enjoyed that one.
Are you dead
I had
serious?
fun.
It
I
is
had
a
fun.
movie. Thank you. It is a fun movie. It features classic arcade games. It had to go on my list.
Well,
This-
I actually do want to.
In spite of the
In spite-
17% rating on
in
Rotten
spite
Tomatoes?
of Kevin James, in spite of Adam Sandler,
Mhm.
Josh Gad
Josh Gad is everything.
steals that movie. And he is
There you
hilarious.
go.
Lady,
We have officially been discredited. Now we're picking movies in our top 10 are 17%.
It is, if you go into it with
an open
You
mind.
can only go up from
open
there,
mind,
right?
exactly.
True.
You can only go up from there. If you go in with it with that kind of attitude, it's a really fun movie.
It is a fun
and
movie. There's
Josh Gad is
absolutely,
everything.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that movie.
So
I don't
first
know.
off,
I don't
I
know
love-
why it was. I mean, it's not a 90% movie. I don't know why it's at 17%.
But not only that, it introduced like these old school game characters to this generation.
Yeah.
There's part of me that I didn't get around to seeing it, but I almost felt like, the joke I wanted to make, and I wish I had made on the show, is I don't need to see that. I've seen Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's definitely-
Wreck-It Ralph did the same thing, but it was a really amazing
But-
movie.
yeah,
Were you
Wreck-It
gonna
Ralph.
wait-
Now,
were you
Wreck-It
gonna wait
Ralph.
for Ready Player One to come out?
Yeah,
I was not around the year Wreck-It Ralph. I was not on the show the year Wreck-It Ralph.
He
came
wasn't
out.
alive.
Wreck-It Ralph would have been closer to my number 3 or my
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
2, probably.
But I honestly do get why it's on your list.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, you have
it tickles that funny bone.
My favorite
Yeah.
part was the Pac-Man with the cars.
That was what a great
and-
And
idea.
Peter Dinklage with a mullet.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage with a mullet.
It is something that I'm gonna watch because of the video
So
game references.
Yeah.
I just didn't get around to it yet.
And Ada said Pixels had more Razzie nominations than I can remember.
They had a lot. That's okay.
I think
I've not
Fantastic
seen that,
Four
I
led
remember.
I thought Fantastic Four led the nominations.
Okay, my number 10 is a movie I don't know if you guys have heard of or not. But
You're being such a hipster right now.
I'm not being such a hipster. I discovered.
Hold on, your beret is showing.
No,
It's a Toby.
no,
There we
it's called We Are Still Here. And you guys remember the movie The House of the Devil?
Yeah.
Okay, this was from the producers of The House of the Devil, and it has a really similar feel to that movie. And it's sort of it's got a real indie kind of horror feel to it too, which I love. It's a haunted house story. A couple loses a child and they move into a haunted house. It's very typical. And immediately things start happening. So here's what makes it great. They call their friends who are hippie psychics to come stay the weekend with them. Then the hippie psychic couple is Lisa Marie and Larry Fessenden as a couple. And they are... Do you know who Larry Fessenden is? He's a director. He did the movie called Wendigo. He's missing teeth in the front. He doesn't care. He's just wacky. And Lisa Marie, from like Mars Attacks and all that, they're ridiculous. It's so much fun. and it's quirky and beautiful, and I just loved it. I was really just taken with it. And it's simple. It's just it's quick too. It's like an hour, 15 minutes or something. Really good. And I fought with whether this was going to go this or Paddington, and you know how the video game thing tickles your fancy. I'm a horror movie guy, especially something that reminds me of 70s horror movies from when I was a kid, and this one does in the same way the House of the Devil.
If I had seen that, it would probably be on my list.
It's really
I
good.
really liked House of the Devil, and even the Innkeepers isn't that bad.
Yeah, The Innkeepers has its moments too.
Yeah.
It's a little long for me, but
Yeah.
I liked it too. Yeah. Okay. Who's next?
My number 10 was Paper Towns. And it was
You're being
about-
hipster now.
Yeah, it was about, well, first off, Cara Delevingne, she's a model, actress, but it's about her character. Her name's Margot, and she's just this off-the-wall, cool girl who ends up disappearing, and her next-door neighbor, childhood friend, has to find her based off the clues she leaves, and she ends up in this paper town.
Oh, I heard about this one.
But I thought it was just going to be like one of those stupid romance comedy things, but it was actually really
The high
neat.
school teen romance sort of thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that. I mean, yeah, you got the high school romance, but it does not.
The trailers made it feel like it was one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn out how you think it turns out. That's what.
I
It's so
couldn't do
interesting.
it because it's by the same author who did the other teen novel
There it is.
movie,
It's 56% on Rotten Tomatoes.
and I can't even think of it
But it
right
was
now.
good.
If it's on your list, I might give it a try.
No.
There's got to be
You mean
something
the
that made
Fault in
it
Our Stars.
interesting.
That oh my god, that movie! I wish.
Because I feel like that we could probably all watch stuff on each other's list because we know each other.
I wish there was a machine that could turn the movie The Fault in Our Stars into a person so I could punch him in the ovaries. It is
I will tell you,
so
Paper Towns was so
bad.
much better than The Fault in Our Stars.
Okay.
Way better.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Everyone in that movie is a douche. And like
Did any of you see The Duff?
hardcore douche.
No.
No, and I know you're obsessed with
Okay,
it.
The Duff was good, but this was way better as far as like the story and the meaning and stuff behind it. It was great.
Fair
Cool.
enough.
Alrighty.
All right, what's your number 10?
All right, my number 10 is Trainwreck. So this is the Amy Schumer movie that came out this year, and it was like a more uncomfortably hilarious Bridesmaids, where Bridesmaids, when I saw it, you keep like looking away when you're looking at the screen like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be watching this. This was way worse. Gregarious sex scenes. She just has like, if you think sailors have bad mouths, honestly, Amy Schumer's worse.
Take Amy Schumer and a polyamorous lifestyle.
Yeah, and she, so what it is she, what is his name? Quinn, Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn plays her father, and when they're little, he's like, all right, girls, so, you know your Barbie? Barbie wants to be with all the Kens, but Ken wants to only be with her. Now Barbie should be with whatever Ken doll she wants to be with. And so it's ingrained in her for the rest of her life. And she's like, no, I'm not going to be with just one person. I want to be in a monogamous relationship. I want to be with as many dudes as I possibly can. And so she starts dating this doctor, John Hader, and it just becomes this really funny, quirky little relationship. And I will say the breakout star, this is not Amy Schumer, not Bill Hader. I said John Hader, Bill Hader. It is LeBron James playing himself.
Yeah.
He is hilarious. So yeah, it wasn't everything I wanted it to be and more, but it was still good enough to be number 10.
I really changed my mind about her, and it happened because of your review of the concert DVD that we got. Which then I
it's not a
watched.
concert. This is her show. Her show is freaking phenomenal.
No.
The movie doesn't hold up to the show.
Well, I know, but then I went and looked at the concert, the live show that she did on HBO, and it
She's
was
funny.
it was really
She's
really funny.
She's hilarious.
Hilarious.
Side note, her squad is Jennifer Lawrence and Adele.
Like I can't. She had Ellen in stitches. I'm excited to see what she does after this. Like I said, this film was still great, but it just felt like sometimes it just
She's
feels
like the
a
vulgar
conduit.
Kristen Wiig.
The vulgar Kristen Wiig, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, that's saying a lot.
Convention.
Kristen
Yeah.
Wiig is pretty great. Though.
No, Kristen Wiig is great. She's just not vulgar. She's
Yeah.
more of a chameleon.
Yeah.
I mean, but Kristen Wiig will show full bush.
Really?
Have
Okay.
you not seen? And this was another one that could have been on my top 10 list. Welcome to Me.
No.
Was it
Oh,
Welcome
yeah.
to Me? Yeah, where she wins. She has borderline personality disorder, and she Steve Carell wasn't in this one, and
Hold on.
she
For
wins
scientific purposes,
lottery.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
I think it's called Welcome to Me, but she has borderline personality disorder. She wins the lottery, and so she's like, well, I want to be like Oprah, so I'm going to have my own talk show. And they're like, oh, great, so you're going to interview guests. And she's like, no, I'm just going to do stuff on my show. And so she like does all this weird stuff and has these like like she has people reenact like parts of her life, like when some girl bullied her or something. It is the weirdest movie ever.
Sounds
Like-
bizarre.
You were
It's
in.
really bizarre. It's really, really bizarre.
All right, Zach, your number 10?
Oh, sorry. My number 10 is Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. Not Ghost Protocol.
Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
Rogue Nation. Sorry.
Somebody's had a long day.
Yes.
That movie was pretty good, too.
The movie was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. How sad is it when James Bond nearly ends up on my worst of list, where Mission Impossible ends up on my top 10 list? That's impressive,
Mhm.
especially for Mission Impossible, a series that has kind of been rocky if it's just now getting.
That's actually not true. That series has
One
been pretty.
is boring. Two is
One
the
is
best,
good.
three
Two is a
bad,
disaster.
Four
Three,
is awesome. Five
3,
is
4, and 5 are
awesome.
great.
So this movie is fantastic. Tom Cruise is at the top of his game. Simon Pegg is great. Nobody turns in a bad performance. Alec
No.
Baldwin is great in this. The action is
Jeremy Renner
unbelievable.
is good for what he gets to do.
I'm wondering how they did certain camera shots in this because they were real and practical. That motorcycle shot, I still want to know how they did that.
Yeah, but
And
all the motorcycle work was awesome.
it was incredible, and that's what really distinguishes it from Bond is real stunts, physical effects. Not only
Most of the Bond stunts were boring.
it was boring, and they did what Guy and David did, which was let's just do CG it, and that killed the franchise. If nobody remembers, that killed James Bond, and they're doing it again, and I have that feeling about it.
The only stunt work I didn't really care for in Rogue Nation was the underwater bit when he was.
Well, that was you can't do that.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Now,
But given how everything else was phenomenally well shot and looked real because it was real, that's why it stood out.
Okay, so just for the sake of expediting things, my number 9 is Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
Rogue.
and I want to keep it short just because I knew this movie.
It was coming up because you knew you and I had it on the list anyway. Because the thing that I loved about it is you had this mix of real action, real 80s style, real stuff happening, including that crap with him hanging off the plane at the beginning of the movie, mixed with some really total James Bond long, patient sequences. There's 20 minutes to they're in an opera house and you don't care because it's so
The
dramatic.
pacing of the scene is
Yeah.
so well to where you.
And there's one
follow
scene in
everything.
there. There's a scene that's totally unrealistic, but it
What?
feels like Bond when there's a really attractive lady, the leading lady, she's got a split dress, and she bends her leg like that, and does that.
I thought
I'm like,
that was a very
that
Bond scene.
is
I thought
Bond
the same
right
thing.
there.
Let's
But-
connecting bone to bone.
That's
Let's
true.
stabilize.
Oh my
That's true.
goodness. It was everything I wanted.
It's on my list. It's actually quite a bit higher on my list. I was blown away.
I was about
by
to say,
it.
it's on my list.
I'm
too.
not a huge fan of this franchise, but this movie
I think
was-
you need
was
to
fantastic.
revisit this franchise. It's
I
better than
I
think you're right. I think this movie is. I mean, I should be listening to you anyway. It's not like you steer me wrong
Yeah.
when it comes to movie. But yeah, I do need to go back to this because this movie was tight.
It
I mean,
was.
it was.
And here's what I recommend if you're a fan of this movie. And I don't know if you've done this yet, but it's fascinating to watch the commentary.
Well, I haven't done that yet.
Because the commentary, it's the director's Christopher McQuarrie, who he worked with on the Jack Reacher movie, and they just got to be buddies. And he also worked with him on Rinse, Die, Repeat, whatever the hell that thing. Yeah. He was on that too. Yeah. So,
What about his hair?
but when you're watching the commentary, you start to understand they barely had a script. They were writing this movie as they were shooting it.
Wow.
They got together like, this is a cool idea. Let's do
can
this.
tell that, yeah.
But
I love that this movie, like, the big stunt of the movie is the plane. Like, all the promotions, like, he's hanging off a plane. That's in the first 2 minutes.
well, I had the Paramount sent us the Blu-ray for review, which I reviewed, but it's currently in my sale pile because there's another version of it at Target that has a 90-minute special effects DVD and a special effects book. I want that because the movie's so good. I just love it that much. So that's my number 9.
It's fantastic.
So let's just start back over here.
Oh, hey, we're back around to it.
Number
yeah.
9, yeah.
Number 9. I keep forgetting I'm going top to bottom, not bottom to top. Paddington.
So good.
It was fantastic. It's one of the first movies I saw of the year, and it still stays with me.
Mm-hmm.
That
I think it was just me and you randomly went to that, right?
And staircase in the hallway with the tree and the way the leaves going through the seasons and just little things.
Catherine, you didn't see Paddington?
I'm so depressed that I didn't get to see Paddington.
Well, it's out there to see, and you need to see.
It
You
is.
will
I know.
love it.
I know I'll love it.
What kills me is kind of writing it up. I'm about halfway through my write-up for these, so I got some work to do tonight when we get done to get it to you. But I got to thinking about how formulaic this is. Just how many beats it hits of like a typical kids movie. It's like paint by the numbers. It's a checklist,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but it's still fantastic.
Well, and it's
still amazing.
because the lines that connect those dots are so unique.
They're so unique. Yeah, if Rembrandt did a paint by numbers, it would still be a Rembrandt.
Yeah.
The Hugh Bonneville was just playing that standard kid movie dad. It's out of touch and can't connect with his kids, and slowly becomes comes around.
What was the joke, Zach? No, let's not spoil it because Catherine hasn't seen it. And
But
you will love
just
that
a
movie so much.
fantastic
I'm sure I will.
If you had seen it, it would probably be way high on your list.
It's
It probably
magical.
would be.
And then Nicole Kidman was great.
She's a great Cruella de Vil.
I love how the movie also, at like 2 points in the film, could have turned out to be a really dark movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go for that.
It doesn't cross the line, but it tiptoes around it. It's like, whoa, this is cool.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So good.
It's super fun. And it
Yeah.
nearly made the list. It's
Me too.
so close.
Me too. It's really close. Nico?
Ex Machina.
Oh God, that was in my top 20 also.
Yeah, that one I was able to catch off Redbox, and it was really good. It was definitely a slower burn than I kind of expected. I didn't expect the psychological suspense that it was. It's really interesting because like the 2 actors in it, Dominique Gleeson and Oscar Isaac, are also in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
So
already
already
a
a
landmark.
story of Ex Machina?
No.
It's already a landmark here. So basically, this one guy wins basically a Willy Wonka-esque golden ticket contest to spend a week with this very introverted, isolated internet genius. Basically, built Google essentially, or the comparison thereof.
Yeah, it really is.
And when he gets there, he
Google.
finds out that the inventor, that genius, actually wanted somebody to help him test out an artificially intelligent android. And so that person is then asking the android questions, and
I've seen this already.
yeah,
It's so good.
in the course of it, he basically starts kind of going into madness, and then you see the kind of manipulations of the Oscar Isaac.
You know what it made me think of? Those interview sequences kind of made me think of the beginning of Blade Runner.
Yeah,
It kind of made me
very
feel
much
like
so.
that. Yeah.
I think the performances of the 3 main characters.
It's 92% on Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes.
there were, I think, only 4 real actors in the movie, and one of them is only at the beginning of the ending for the helicopter pilot.
Yeah, I wouldn't even count him.
Well, no, I mean, there's
Did
like
you see it, Dwayne?
Yeah, that's my number 3.
no,
Oh.
Way to spoil.
no,
I thought that's what we were doing.
it's a
we're
really
not. Yeah.
well, as long as you don't say what your number 1 is, I
Yeah.
guess, before you get there. But no, it was kind of hard for me, and I think any given moment I could reshuffle that higher in my list and something else lower. I go back and forth on a lot of them, but
I struggled with that one a lot.
it
too.
was really good. I quite enjoyed it.
my whole list I struggled for days.
Yeah, I got funny text messages from Zach and complaining about having to do the article because he couldn't figure out what to put in his top 10.
I would go, okay, that's the list, and then like an hour later I'd come back to it and go, no, let's move it here, and this would go on for like 2
What is it?
days.
It used to be a ridiculous picture of you with headphones on.
I was just like, oh. It was not fun.
It was fun.
I feel like tonight I'm gonna go home and change it.
Probably, but you
Wait.
can't.
I know.
Wait.
My number 9 was Vacation because screw you, Zach.
Of course.
I didn't see it. So.
What was
I'm
it?
not surprised.
Vacation.
That's like the one movie that came out this year that you probably didn't see.
Well, first off, I gave you free tickets to it. Second off,
I mentioned that in my
I can
article.
only get mad at a movie if I've seen it.
No, I've seen
this
you
is-
get mad at things you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I've seen you do that too. Yeah, it's true. You're talking about the Vacation remake.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
Unless
It's not really a remake, it's a
It
continuation.
is, yeah, it is.
Oh, that's right. It was
technically
a sequel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is, so my wife is obsessed with this movie, and I'll walk in and she'll just have it on. And I find myself, even though I have better things to do, I find myself drawn to sit down. There are some cameos in the movie. I won't spoil
This
all
one's
of
at
them.
27% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I know.
We're
I'm
going
batting
For the
1,000.
plot.
We're right.
There are some cameos that are too good to spoil in this, but I will say Charlie Kelly from Always Sunny makes an appearance, and he kills it in this movie. He's so funny. There is a gag with their Eastern European car that they have. That's hilarious. Christina Applegate is so funny in this.
I like her. And
But this is a role that's much better suited to her humor style than Anchorman was. Yeah, I don't think she really got to.
She was kind of the straight.
Yeah,
Woman
and this
in
lets her
Anchorman.
be a lot funnier.
I think I ruined this movie for myself because I just don't want to see a vacation movie that doesn't star the people that I love in those movies.
I mean, it's different. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
It's definitely more crass. It's more in line.
Oh, I
with
like
the,
Crass.
Well, and you're not gonna like this next. It's much more in line with like the type of humor from Hangover and those types of movies.
Yeah, I probably should have skipped it.
But it's
It'll make me
okay.
Which is
It's
kind of
still-
funny because
yeah.
we say it's more crass when we're talking about a movie that had people eating bologna sandwiches that were
But
pissed on by a dog.
But,
eaten
mad.
by a
Yeah,
dog,
yeah, true. All right.
My
You
number
calling?
9 was Krampus.
I love that movie.
I really love that movie, and especially for it being a holiday. I think what actually made this movie was actually going with a group of people, the people I went with, because it was so much fun to watch in a group.
It was fun
And
watching a group.
It did not turn how I expected it, and the star character of the whole thing was the crazy aunt that was an alcoholic. For me, she made the movie.
Really?
actually
I don't
funny
think
when
that's
you brought-
fair. Right now, Krampus on there it is. Rotten Tomatoes is 64%. I don't think that's fair. I think it's better than that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a little low.
Yeah.
It is literally like, for a holiday movie, I still like Gremlins better, but
Oh,
Krampus
there's no
is-
beating Gremlins,
Yeah.
but
Can I just say, super major props to Krampus's like sound design. Did anybody notice that?
super
sound
major
design
props
of
to
the film.
giant hooks.
No,
in
the super.
Krampus. I'm just saying.
The sound design of the
Gingerbread.
film was absolutely like
Gingerbread.
unbelievably good.
It was. It was.
Like,
And I like the art design. I like the look of the movie.
Well, and you got a lot of comedy, but you also got moments where you're like, oh crap, oh.
There were a
Right,
couple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine?
my number 9 was Amy.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you didn't seem like you liked it that
I
much when we
didn't
came
like
out of
it
it.
as much. I Amazoned it. Yeah, watched it on
Did you?
Amazon again, and I liked it way better the second time.
Because I felt like coming out of there, I actually liked it better than you did.
Yeah, well, okay, here's the deal. I'm a huge Amy Winehouse fan. Like, I wore a veil of mourning the day that she died. I was one of her biggest fans, I felt like, and it killed me when she died because that meant that she wasn't ever going to create anything else. And it was always one of those things where, like, everybody's like, oh, Amy Winehouse should have gone to rehab. You said no, no, no. And people would make fun, and I would get so intensely angry at them. And so I know this is really weird, but it felt like I was sharing a little bit of my fandom with people, and I didn't.
No, there's nothing
want
weird about
to.
that at all. That's. I feel like when
It's
we go
kinda
to a
like-
Marvel movie, we're sharing some fandom with people.
Yeah.
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 It's really weird. It's kind of like how, for the longest time, I loved Michael Jackson, and I wasn't really allowed to. It was the weirdest thing to like Michael Jackson. Now everybody everywhere is like, he was a genius. I'm like, I said this for the past 20 years and nobody listened to me. So it's the same thing with Amy Winehouse, where people said like, oh, she was the tortured, where I was like, oh guys, she was a tortured genius, and it was like really bad, and like her family was bad, but nobody would listen to me. I guess it was kind of weird. It wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be at first, but then when I went back and looked through it, it was really incredibly innovative. And when you watch it again, you're watching her life through her eyes, not through the public's eyes.
Now, see, the thing that I loved about the movie when we went and saw it is really loved, and usually I'm not a huge fan of this, but I loved the sort of all the home movie footage and the behind, because she's a different person than she makes herself out to be, and it's not just the way people assume she is. She would put on a particular type of image in front of people, but she was really different, and you could see that. Outside of that, the reason it's not in my top 10 list at all is I hated the way the documentary was produced. It just felt like a kaleidoscope. It was, to me, hard to watch because of the color palette and the way things were cut and stuff. I just didn't like that. But the story I loved. I was fascinated.
I liked the storytelling the second time through. I really did.
Maybe I should see it again.
It made a little more sense because her life was so insanely chaotic that the film kind of needed to be chaotic as well. And when you watch it a second time, you can kind of sit through the madness and see what the true vision was and what was going on in her life and everything. And and get more of an essence of her.
I'll see it again.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I love the story.
I would highly recommend the second time through. And plus, I was crying through the movie anyway because, listening to her singing live or, just not singing with any effects or anything, just her, just pissing around her apartment, just saying, it's insane.
You know who struck me in that movie? I always thought he was a cool dude anyway. But Tony Bennett. You see who he really is in there a little bit too, and that little bit of time he's in the movie, and I loved it. I thought that was awesome.
Oh yeah, because he loved the stuff out of her.
Just thinking of Alan Baldwin doing Tony Bennett on.
Oh
yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 9.
Zach, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is technically, with a big capital T, a 2014 film. But
dude.
It was released in 2 theaters in 2014 and did not get a wide release until February.
That'd be like picking Revenant.
Okay. I'm not.
I'm saying that'd be like if you picked Revenant for 2016. I think that'd be valid. I think that's legitimate.
Yeah, I think Revenant is 2016. It deserves to be.
All right, what is it?
Anyway,
and we'll decide.
Song of the Sea is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know this movie.
It is an animated film from Ireland.
Yes, that's right.
That was nominated for an Oscar last year for Best Animated Feature, which is why it was released softly in 2014.
We had it in a film ball game.
Oh my God. I would like to say right now, I am sorry for dissing this film when we were doing our Oscar picks, because I was like, oh, this is some art house film that nobody's seen. It's some arty film. It is the most beautiful film I've seen in 10 plus years.
Didn't it win the award, too?
It did not win the award. It's a shame that it did not win the award.
Now, I'm just doing this for perspective. We really don't give a flying F about what general Rotten Tomatoes thinks. It's just good for perspective.
99%.
This one's at 99%.
Yes.
It's at 99%.
Wonderful film. It had me. There was 2 films on my list that emotionally affected me. This was one of them. By the end of the film, I just walked into my car and just started crying.
Yeah, but you're a baby.
But I wasn't sad. The film's not sad. I just, for some reason, I just couldn't hold it. I just lost it.
It hit your heart.
Those are feelings.
That's good, Zach.
I know.
You have feelings.
You just made a breakthrough.
Watch it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have feelings, just no love. There's other feelings. I have plenty of hate and anger.
But I have to say, this is a film that deserves to be seen. More people need to see it. And it is such a beautiful, well-done film that will find its audience. It does have a slow beginning, but once it kicks into gear, it is just absolute wonderful.
Nice.
I'm really glad you mentioned this because I did want to see this. And
Absolutely.
I forgot all about
Go
it.
out of your way to find it.
Okay.
You won't be disappointed.
You think it will be on Hulu? No.
Netflix or Amazon Video.
Not Netflix, but Amazon Video is a possibility, or Vudu. You ever do Vudu?
Yeah, Amazon Video is cheaper though.
It is cheaper. Yes.
Also, if you had a chance to see it on a big screen, it was
Well, now you know the trick with Vudu is they give you 3 options, and if you're on the cheap, you can just take the SD version. It's like $3.99. All right, so we're at number 8, Mike.
Yeah, Inside Out.
Oh.
Another one that kind of shocked me. I watched it late, and I didn't really think I'd like it, but it seemed to be one of those that you needed to kind of see. I kind of thought the premise was stupid. The whole idea of kind of personifying emotions or whatever just seemed silly. I didn't see how you could make that work. But just end up watching it and you just kind of forget about it. You get sucked into it. It's a really
Inside Out is 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a really kind of sophisticated, insightful look at sadness and family. It's
more along the lines of what Pixar should be doing compared to a lot of the other stuff they've done lately.
Who's ready for Cars 3?
Yeah,
I am.
No more Dean Cook.
Exactly. All right, Nico.
I thought that was planes.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It was,
Same
either
difference.
way.
it was planes.
Yeah.
It needs to stop.
Which definitely wasn't Pixar, so that's fine. Steve Jobs.
This is the
Michael Fassbender, written
yes.
by Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin one. Yep. I haven't seen that. I didn't get around to it.
Huh? It is great. It is totally an Aaron Sorkin movie if you watch it. I mean, the dialogue, the walking shots, everything. It's purely an Aaron Sorkin film in everything but direction. But no, it's great. I love the kind of almost stage play setup it has. It's basically divided up into 3 different scenes. The release of the Apple II, and then the release of the next PC, the Cube, and then the release of the iMac, and it all compresses very key moments into Steve Jobs' lives into this moment. It's very dramatized, of course, but the way it does get across the major events in his life in these 3.
They're saying in the chat room that they've heard that the Steve Jobs movie was good, and I've heard that too.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender does probably his best performance ever. I think it's. I never hear a hint of his accent, which I think is part of the strong suit. I think Seth Rogen is oddly really good.
Seth Rogen, I love Seth Rogen in small roles.
I like Seth Rogen.
I like him anyway, but when he comes into these little small things, and you don't expect him to be what he is.
Yeah, these small, not comedic things.
Yeah.
And that's not to say there isn't any.
Seth
likeness.
Rogen, he
It's
could,
there.
in a few years, he could come out and do something totally dramatic and be awesome.
I think
And we'll be
so.
surprised.
When he's not allowed to improv and when he's not talking about pot and doing comedy, he's great.
Yeah.
And when he's not directing himself.
But when he laughs, it always makes me laugh.
That's the best laugh.
It's the best ever.
I think he does a really good job showing the difference between Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs because the way they're so opposite of each other in the movie works out really well.
I'm a little upset with myself because I was doing some catch up and I didn't see this from the theater and I should have watched it. I forgot.
It died in the theater. No one went and saw
Well,
this.
and it died in the theater, I think, because they'd already had this horrible taste of Ashton Kutcher's.
Yes,
movie.
it was that plus
Give it
they
a
didn't
release.
have enough time building hype for it, and then they put it out in 2,500 theaters with no hype, and everyone remembers the Ashton Kutcher one, and then nobody went and saw it.
I think they should.
Probably right.
They almost should have shelved the movie for a couple of years
Yes.
and let the Ashton Kutcher stank wear off of the story.
For
You buy
marketing,
that at Walmart.
for marketing
that's
promotion,
what they're saying?
for
It's his cologne.
marketing,
It's
that's
in a
probably
multi-pack
true.
with Axe.
But I am really glad that we got the product that we got. I think that the cast was all well put together and chosen. I think
And maybe it's something that's gonna have a really strong life on video.
I feel like they
really
should have-
strong life for the iTunes store.
They should have
There we
played
go.
out the Aaron Sorkin thing because I think if you tell people, do you know who Aaron Sorkin is? No.
Yes.
Did you watch The West Wing? Yes.
Yes.
That's that guy.
Oh.
That's
I
the
think
guy
I
that
want
wrote
to
the
see
Facebook
that
movie.
Right.
Everybody liked that movie.
That's really the promotion they should have went with. It's from the guy who brought you The Social Network.
Yeah.
Also, like play up the fact that it's still a technology kind of centric movie, so it kind of makes sense. But no, overall, it's a really good movie.
See,
It's really tight.
I'm checking that. This always happens when we do these lists. The 2 weeks after that we do this, I end up watching a
Well,
bunch of
that's
other
a good
stuff.
thing. That's
I
a good
also
thing about
really
this.
enjoyed the use of film stocks. Do you notice this in the film? Like the 80s one is shot on 16 millimeter.
Yeah.
The 90s one shot on 35, and then the 2001 shot on digital.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
They use
interesting.
3 different types of film stocks.
I know that we're not into it as much as you, but that's a That's
That's
a
actually
cool.
really neat.
It's very interesting because the Haiti stuff is like.
Look, Catherine knows you've had a bad day, so she's being nice to you.
No. I think that's very, very interesting, but I'm not being as mean.
But
Alright.
aesthetically, though, it is obvious. Like the errors that they come across feel like legitimate time jumps. And a lot of that also goes to the acting job and the makeup work. Because Michael Fassbender in the 80s looks different than Michael Fassbender in the 90s, looks different than Michael Fassbender in 2000s and the 90s. They do a really good job aging him up to iMac launch Steve Jobs.
Cool.
My number 8 was The Final Girls, and because this was a more limited release film, I will give
That's
it
what I want.
a quick explanation. Basically, a group of teenagers go to a anniversary showing of a horror film that looks a lot like Friday the 13th, and they are transported through movie magic back in time into the movie.
So,
Last Action Hero
have
of
to-
horror movies.
Yes, it is very much that. I feel
quick
like
question about The Final Girls.
Yeah.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it it was on demand for a while, but I think I picked it up on Redbox.
Because I was gonna say that was on my list of things to watch. I could not find it, so I didn't get it watched.
So this idea of taking the horror genre, the things that we know really well, and turning it on its head has become very popular lately, and I feel like this movie does it really well. It has a lot of fun. It has a lot of fun respecting the cliches and the tropes that we are all familiar with in these movies, exploiting them, but doing it in the right way.
Okay.
72%.
72% of Rotten Tomatoes, which, when you consider the kind of movie it is, it's probably about where it should be.
And the
cast horror movies never get the respect, even good ones, that they should.
I might go to Redbox to see if they have it in there.
I love the cast
I wanna
because
watch
it's
this.
all people I know, but it's people that I can't quickly come up with their names. So it's like Silk Spector's in it from Watchmen.
Oh, I like her.
Okay.
That kid from the HBO show Silicon Valley is in it. Vera Farmiga's sister is in it. So
That's funny.
yeah, it's got a.
I
it's got a
actually
lot of people in
like
it.
that kind of movie when it's not really big names, because you always know the really big names are not going to die unless it's the first 5 minutes of a Scream movie.
Yeah,
So that kind of makes it a little more suspenseful too.
it was.
So
It was
good.
fun. It was
All
a
right.
fun watch.
Alrighty, so let's see. My number 8. Trying to switch. I think multiple tabs going here. Is Finders Keepers, and I think I've talked to you guys about this documentary. I love this movie.
Oh yeah, I
It is
wish I
about
had seen
this.
that.
There's a guy. He's a little southern guy. He's had all these aspirations of being on TV, and randomly he buys a storage locker with a grill in it. He opens the grill, and there is a mummified leg in the grill. So he gets on the news and starts getting all this attention, and he starts charging $3 a head for people to come and open the grill and look at the leg.
That's so funny.
The only problem comes along when the guy who had the leg amputated originally wanted it back. It was his leg. But there's a little bit more of a deeper dramatic story with him about why he didn't maintain the locker and what his life has been about. But and that's my favorite thing about this. You guys know me. I like character study type documentaries, and that's what this is. It has a lot of humor. It has some real drama and some melodrama in it. And it's the whole story of what happens with this leg. It's a battle. Who has ownership of it? The high point is when the guy who bought the leg goes to the guy who the leg came from and tries to negotiate shared custody. It's the best ever.
Shared custody of your own mummified leg.
Yeah. It's great. It's a really interesting documentary that makes me really jealous as a filmmaker myself when I see it. It looks like something I would do.
I saw the trailer for that, and I really.
We saw it in Belcourt.
Yeah, I wish I had just seen that.
Really good.
Alright, my number 8 is something that's already been mentioned, and it was Trainwreck.
Ah!
Yeah. Amy Schumer, you go.
You go, girl. You go, gun, Coco.
So, Penny, what was your number 8?
My number 8 has actually been mentioned a lot of times. It was Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Nice.
I watched it on a lark because I do not like Tom Cruise. Although I will say, I loved Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. I didn't like this as much as I liked Edge of Tomorrow. That was a lot
Well, but you're a
more-
sci-fi girl, too.
I'm a sci-fi girl.
Yeah.
This was great for the action. And that one scene that you guys were talking about where she's like running around and she always takes off her shoes. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's running around in that flowing yellow dress and she just like puts the gun up on her knee.
It's a sniper rifle. Yeah.
I want like all day long.
It was.
So great.
I wish that they would do a Mission Impossible poster of that scene. People would look at it and say, "Is this a Bond movie?" Because
It
the
was
scene
just-
just looks like
it
Bond to me.
everything you wanted and more. And she, what's her name? Natasha something, but she was that perfect. Like she was a Bond girl, but that strong Bond girl that you want. It was something that I wasn't expecting because I also wasn't expecting Simon Pegg in there. I didn't.
Oh, he
know
was
that
so
was
good.
in it.
He's been in
And
the franchise for the last two.
This is the first one that I have ever watched, and this was one of the
Wait,
ones
wait, wait.
Is that one of the ones I
Ever,
recommended?
like not one or two.
I've never seen any of them because I do not like Tom Cruise.
And this has been my thing.
girlfriend had
This
the same situation.
I've done this over and over again. I've been preaching for Tom Cruise the last few years because his whole personal life is screwed up. But if you look at his library of movies over the last 5 years or so, it's been really good.
He's a legitimately good actor.
He is.
Legitimately good action. He's so good in it. I can't, even with his jacked up teeth.
Okay,
By the way, did you guys know about his teeth?
Yes, it's so weird.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Everybody look it up. Like, you know that, like, how the part is supposed to be right underneath your nose of, like, you know, in between your two front teeth? It's this over one. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Look it up next time. Tom Cruise's teeth.
The one thing that this movie has, and we didn't talk about this, over the other Mission Impossibles, is this really well done sense of levity. The humor, like when he comes up out of the water, that whole sequence is hilarious.
Yeah.
And he actually pulled it off, the comedy part.
Well, like the immediate, not just the immediate, but like up until getting in the car when they're both kind of like semi-dead.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's really
Like,
good.
He's like, "Are you okay to drive?"
And that little bit of chemistry when they pass Jeremy Renner and Ving Rhames.
They're like, oh, hey, you're here.
And I don't know if it's just the added input of Simon Pegg because he is really
funny.
good comedic actor. Maybe that's it, but man, it is really good that they.
No, that was, if you watch the commentary, that was an idea that McQuarrie and Cruise came up with, kind of not on the spot, but really close to when they were about to shoot.
It was really, and that scene particularly is really good. The thing I really like about this one is last movie, it really felt like they were setting up Jeremy Renner's character to be
I was afraid of that.
an eventual replacement for Tom Cruise. He's set up to basically have the same skill set.
I love Jeremy Renner, but I don't think he could do it.
Well, in this
movie,
they really double down on the fact that you're the government liaison. You're the guy running the ops, running in the command center. Tom Cruise is still the agent. I like that they nail down that niche role in this franchise for Jeremy Renner. And I think he pulls it off really well.
He does.
All right, Zach, you're number 8.
All right, well, we've already
Hi, John.
Ex Machina is my number 8, and we've
Nice.
already talked about it, so I'll just go over one thing really quickly. The one thing I noticed on a second viewing is, and this is almost like a subliminal thing, is the camera work.
It's beautiful.
No. In the sessions.
It's beautiful.
In the sessions.
Oh.
Placement of camera.
Yeah.
How that plays in and telegraphs a scene visually alone. I mean, the first time you're so interlocked in what is happening in the scene. Second time watching, I'm going, look at these angles. It starts out this way, then it goes this way. On who controls the scene.
Interesting.
Even though dialogue, you might think it's leaning one way, the camera work telegraphs it another way.
All right, now I have to watch it again.
It's so fascinating.
All right.
Look at those scenes one more time.
I'm going to watch it again because I'm going to own the Blu-ray anyway. I love that movie.
I love that ending. I love that ending so much.
It's really great. Yeah, I
It's
agree.
just like, they did it. They did it. They did it.
Yeah. you couldn't have seen that ending coming. It was not the way you would.
I love that. I'm just trying so hard to take you.
I had to
around
switch
and I love
the
how they
camera
just
off
did
of Zach
it.
because he was touching his privates.
Not near me. That's gross.
All right, number 7, Mikey boy.
All right. I didn't get to see as many documentaries as I would like to of this year, but the one that just stood out is the Wolfpack.
Oh yeah.
That is amazing film. I found it was interesting because it's one of those. I started watching it, and it does a real good job to sucking you in. You know, it's kind of like it does a really good job at the beginning of giving you a reason why you're watching this. You know, you're introduced. It's about this family with 6 boys and one girl, and they're basically locked into this project's apartment on the Lower East Side. I mean, they were locked in there. They would get out. There's at one point where he's kind of standing in front of the windows, you know, talking about, some years we'd get out a couple of times a year. One year we got out maybe 9 years. Or
And
maybe
one year we didn't get out at all.
years, and then there was one year we didn't get out at all.
Yeah.
They every time they left the apartment, they would be escorted by their dad, who was the only one that had a key to the apartment. They basically locked him in when he left. And it's just kind of them kind of discovering the outside world and how they
Through
cope
movies.
and through movies. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm kind of wondering a little bit because it's a little bit kind of hodgepodge. There's a lot of kind of old video footage thrown in of them kind of growing up and stuff like that, or them just running around like crazy animals in the apartment, or them doing their movie recreations and stuff.
Yeah, they literally would sit down, and one of the brothers was responsible for writing out every line from the movie. Then they would reenact it and videotape it.
And they had these amazing props built out of. They didn't even have it. They didn't even have like cardboard boxes. They were
My
using
favorite prop.
Like cereal boxes.
My favorite prop from the entire movie was the Batman costume.
The Batman costume was amazing.
They made this from a distance. It looked right, but it was made out of a yoga mat and some cereal boxes, and they painted it.
Wow.
And it
looked legit.
Yeah. Now I will say this now: the movie is not on my list, and it's because I love the story, but I felt like it was so meandering. I got a little bit weighted down by it, and I actually fell asleep the first time I tried to watch it.
I agree. It is meandering, but one of the things that I kind of I was kind of like I'm not liking it at first, but towards the end of it, I kind of realized that I was kind of a little bit upset because it wasn't answering any questions.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was asking all these questions, and you had all these wondering, and some things kind of get revealed as you watch it. But then at the end of it, I kind of realized, well, that's kind of what's magical about it. It's still a mystery. You still really don't know much. There's this mystery about these kids living in this, young adults now, living in this apartment. What's happening? What's going on with them? How are they doing? Yeah. You get these little glimpses that, everything was okay, and then there'll be these little glimpses that everything's not so okay. You'd think they would kind of escaped maybe the madness of their father, but then there'd be little glimpses that they haven't, and I thought it was fascinating. To me, it kind of came across, it's definitely not a story, I don't know if it's a story, actually. It's not a documentary.
It's not really a story. It's just a flat-out character study.
Yeah, if you want things explained to you, you want a beginning, middle, and end,
you're not
getting it here. But to me, I thought of it, it's like a video portrait. It's
I wanted to like that movie so bad. I really tried. I wanted to like it, and it's just.
I felt that the first half of it, I felt exactly the same way you do about it. But somehow towards the second half, towards the end, it just kind of turned around on me, and I just thought of it a little bit differently. It's like, well, it's not answering. It's not trying to answer the questions. It's just asking them. It's leaving the mystery in there, which I thought was
cool. Yeah.
I thought was who knows? It may have just been.
Did anybody else see this movie other than Zach?
The filmmaker may have just not had the skill, but to portray it.
No, I think it was purposeful.
I think to me, I thought it was a pretty bold choice to leave the mystery there.
Yeah, I just couldn't get with the meanderingness of it. I do love the story though. I'll have to watch it again. I only watched it twice and fell asleep during it once. So that doesn't really count. Yeah. All right, Nico.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak.
Yep.
Guillermo. You're angry.
No. I actually enjoyed the movie. It's not that much.
Guillermo del Toro's horror movie. It's a gorgeous movie for one. I think the set design got to me on point. It's very gorgeous. Like particularly the mansion where the bulk of the story takes place. It looks gorgeous and also haunting and terrifying at the same time. And I love the intricacies of the design of that building.
Oh look, Nathan, you'll like the score of this one. 69.
Yep. And I think the acting's pretty well done. I think everybody does a really good job making the emotion, I guess, in this horror movie work. Mm-hmm. And I like that it's got supernatural aspects to it, but ultimately the mystery and everything that's happening and the evil of the movie has nothing to do with the supernatural. It's just people. It's a very human supernatural story, which is kind of an odd way to look at it.
I remember liking the movie. I'm thinking back. I liked it, just not enough for my top 10. But the violence in the last act is pretty astounding.
The violence is great. The actual practical effects of all the violence and the ghosts and all that, it's really good.
Yeah.
Del Toro did a fantastic job doing his particular his attraction of doing actual practical effects.
Yeah.
Everything in this.
There's one hit of CGI in that movie that really takes me out of the movie. Though.
It's kind of like me with Mission Impossible. It's like there's that one bit with the underwater bit, and everything else I love.
Yep.
So I completely understand that.
All right, Dwayne.
All right, mine was Ant-Man. Because it's a heist movie in the Marvel Universe, and that's all I really need to make me happy.
We had a good time watching Ant-Man.
I heard y'all. Really had a better time than I did.
Steven humped the fridge.
I humped the fridge.
In all fairness, I will also say this is the first movie I saw in a drive-in in 20 years, so that could have something to do with the experience. But no, it was much better than I would have thought.
It was much better than it looked like it was going to be. Yeah. Because you were pretty down on it initially, weren't you?
No, I was very, very.
It had a worrisome
I thought it was going to be
path to the screen.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and because we were all looking for that first Marvel flop last year, 2 years ago. I guess last year we thought it was going to be Guardians,
and it wasn't.
And even Ant-Man probably, I haven't seen the numbers on it. It probably wasn't as successful as most.
It made money.
Yeah,
and they've greenlit another one.
Yeah, they're making another one. It made money. It was successful. But if any movie had the greatest potential out of all the Marvel movies to be a flop, it's this one. Played with years of pre-production, changing out directors just after production actually starts.
Yeah.
Is
Deadpool a Marvel movie?
No, it's Fox.
Oh.
It's a Marvel.
I mean, it's a Marvel.
Well, it's a Marvel character,
Yeah.
but it's a Fox movie.
Now, our viewing experience is we got trashed here at the house and watched it in 3D, and that was fun.
Actually, the 3D here is actually really cool.
Yeah.
I think we need to do more 3D movie nights here.
It's weird because we watched Avengers first, and the Avengers Blu-ray 3D was better than it was in the theater.
Yeah,
it
a
was.
lot.
Yeah, it was way better.
And yeah, then you can come over here and hump the fridge. Yeah, that was
Order
fun.
fresh baked cookies.
Order fresh baked cookies.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a good night.
All right, Steven, what's your numbers?
My number 7 is. Come on, zoom out. My number 7 is Inside Out.
Oh, wow.
I put Inside Out much higher on my list because I didn't expect to like it at all. But I put it. It's not as good, but I put it in that same category as Toy Story because it has this way of using some nostalgia and using some real, relatable emotion to pull you back into childhood.
Mm-hmm.
You can remember what that felt like. And I love the idea of them showing inside of the character what her real emotions were, and then they show what the interpretation of the outside world of them are.
Mm-hmm.
Like and sometimes it's completely wrong, and you can remember that from being a kid. You can remember, like everybody thinks you're really pissed about this or that, and you're not mad about that at all. You're upset about a whole lot more, bigger thing. I loved it. I really loved that movie, and I did not think I was gonna like it. Stop looking at me like that, Nathan. I have a
I'm
heart.
actually just very impressed.
I have a heart. I do.
Aww.
Nathan.
My number 7 was Black Hat. Alright, now that the idiots have left the room in the house. I liked it. Chris Hemsworth, Viola Davis, the action. Hey guys, I get no respect around here. This just sucks.
I think I'm gonna die.
Is it real?
I'm gonna need something stronger than that.
Continue.
By the way, Steven is chugging Bailey's right now.
That never ends well for anyone.
I can't take you right
You're
now.
for real right now.
That is my number 1. I'm gonna spoil it right now. My number 1 worst movie of 2015. Zach and I came out of that movie so mad
Have you seen Fantastic Four yet?
It's worse than Fantastic Four, I'm telling you. And I did see it, yes.
That's saying something.
Chris Hemsworth was really
Explain
good.
yourself. I can't take it.
First off, I love the concept, especially because around the time that came out, everyone was freaking out about like cyber hacking and stuff going on. So I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. So that's the reason I actually watched the movie, was because of what was going on in the world. So I watched this movie and I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of like how it's playing out. You take this con ex-hacker, get him released, and then. All right, it was Chris Hemsworth. I knew it. I'm trying to justify this.
Chris Hemsworth was in tight shirts for an hour and 10 minutes.
He was in no shirts for some part.
Yeah.
He had sex with an Asian, and it was great.
Thank you for your honesty.
And then he
I'm
had
gonna
sex
let you
with an
talk.
Asian,
I'm
and
just
then it
not
was
gonna
great.
believe it.
Oh, I can't take it.
Do you want me to
My
go to
heart.
mine?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
there you go.
Okay, great. You can breathe a sigh of relief. The next one is Twinsters. It
Nice.
is it's a
I like that
documentary
one.
that was on Netflix, and before you recommended it to me, our sister actually recommended it to us. Did you watch it with us? Okay. So she said, oh my goodness, you guys, you have to watch this movie. It'll just make you feel so much better about the world. And my sister loves a lot of like super indie stuff, so I was like, it's going to be one of those. And it ended up being such a sweet, wonderful documentary.
All right,
So
you
what
guys ready
is-
for it? Take a look at this. Bam.
Twinsters,
100%.
Oh,
I-
I really wouldn't say
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So the story is that there is, and she's been in a bunch of stuff. She's Korean. She's a Korean actress. And then one day she gets this Facebook message from this girl who said, we have the same birthday. We look like the exact same person. Are you from blah, blah, blah in Korea? And she's like, yes, I am. And it's like, I'm getting chill bumps just thinking about it now. It's their story of how they find out that they're actually twins, or that they could be twins. And it's this will they, won't they story, and their friendship. And the girl, her supposed twin is living in France. So it's just this beautiful little story, and like
It's
all
so
of their
good.
things of like how they're similar and everything, and their families become their families. Like it's so wonderful. Like I said, I'm getting chill bumps just thinking about it now. It's a simple story, very simple storyline, but beautifully told.
Honestly, it's probably a better movie than Finders Keepers. I tried to limit. I decided this year I'm just going to do one doc in this list because I could do another list of 10 of just docs that I
docs.
love. Yeah, so I'm going to do that separate. But Finders Keepers just appealed to me, in that rewatchability category. This is probably a better movie though. It's just so good, and it's such a
so
special
good.
story.
It really is.
How does something like that happen? It's
I don't
crazy.
know, and it's just so sweet and wonderful, and especially the fact that like this girl is, because she's been in, what was she in? She was in like one of the stoner comedies. I want to say it was like Superbad. I think she was the Asian girl in Superbad. You know her when you see her, and the fact that like this is happening to her, and so you kind of know her because you know her from these movies, and so you're living in this with her, and she's such a wonderful, relatable person. Like, oh, it's wonderful. Like, it really is like one of the best feel-good documentaries you will ever see.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Zach, what's your number 7?
Oh, crap.
It's Black Hat, isn't it?
No, my number 7. My number 7 is a New Zealand film called What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh yeah.
If you want to talk about,
I hated that movie.
really,
I hated it.
really.
I wanted to like it. I just couldn't care
I'm
less
asking
about
because
it.
this is the first negative thing I've heard.
I know.
Yeah.
Same for me. I thought, well, I need to watch this. I didn't think it was that funny.
It had me literally almost on the ground laughing, just constantly hilarious.
I was bored. I just
bored.
I don't get it. I couldn't connect with it.
Do you understand vampire mythology?
Yeah, I just maybe it's because I don't like it.
Okay.
Maybe I don't like
I mean, I
vampire
get that.
mythology.
Here's the problem, Stephen. You don't know the history of vampire mythology. Zach
True.
does.
If you know,
Wait, the
Vampires
mythology or the
inside and
history of
out.
the mythology?
It's that out.
if you know vampires inside and out, like their history, the tropes, the stereotypes.
I
all that
know
jazz,
them. There's even Twilight references in the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was freaking hysterical. It had me laughing.
So to be clear about what it is a mockumentary.
Yes, it was
About-
a documentary about like 4 or 5 vampires living in a house, getting ready for a party, basically at the end of the month. So it's all about their day-to-day lives.
The only character that I actually liked and did find funny was the Nosferatu guy.
Peter. He was great.
He's funny, but the rest of it.
He's kind of freaky at first. He's like, oh my god, it's a freaky Nosferatu vampire. But then he's like the nicest one.
Yeah.
After he kills you.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say for some reason I couldn't connect with it, but apparently everybody else in the world loves this movie.
I thought it was unbelievably funny, and I can't wait. Like, if this team like decides to do something else, like I'm fully on board.
I'll watch something else they do because they're clever. That's for sure. I couldn't connect with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong for not being able to connect with it. You are right for connecting with Black Hat, though, Nathan. You are incorrect in doing so.
Yeah, that's a bad move. Well, actually, no. I get it now that he was honest about why he loved the movie. Now I understand.
Chris Hemsworth in a tight shirt without
I'm
a
not
shirt.
gonna lie,
and
he's-
having
I mean, I think that
sex.
we would all probably still like a Black Widow movie, even if it was a bad movie.
Yeah, I just saw Michelle just sent something on that. In fact,
Yeah, the Russo brothers said they would totally want to do a Black Widow movie.
I think I would watch a Black Widow movie. Anyway, Mike.
It's kind of funny. I've just a note about the rest of my list.
It's also Black Hat.
Black Hat for the rest of them.
Over the years, I've kind of gotten tired of action movies.
Mhm.
But in a way, the rest of my list could in some way could be defined as action movies. One of them is maybe a little awfully, but I mean they're kind of mixing genres, but they're action movies, which I found very interesting. It's kind of for 2015 for me was the return of the action movie.
It was in a lot of ways. There were some really innovative ones.
But the next one on my list is Mad Max Fury Road.
Nice.
And I'm a huge fan of the original movies, the first two. Beyond Thunderdome, I'm not crazy about. But
It's more of a kind of a cheesy movie.
I enjoy it
but
though.
Fury Road was amazing. It kind of had a lot of the same feel, but it was updated. But it was updated, but without ripping the heart out of it. Tom Hardy was amazing. Charlize Theron was even more amazing. The Furiosa, yeah. It's the sets, the action, the set pieces. It was just how much of that was real? Amazing.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna withhold too many comments because I have a sneaking suspicion.
It's higher up on
It's
other
gonna
lists.
happen. I think somebody else is
Where it
probably
could
gonna.
be.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come up again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
All right. Anything else specific you want to say on your rating of it before we move forward?
I know there's been some. I know one thing you kind of criticized a little bit of that it's more of a Furiosa movie than a Mad Max movie, but kind of like our disagreement with the
No, there's no
Joker
disagreement.
movie.
There's no disagreement. That's a Joker
I
movie.
found that part fascinating that they were willing to,
Then call it a Joker movie.
To be
I
fair,
wouldn't be-
Batman gets the entire trilogy, so it's okay
Yeah.
if some focus is a bit on the Joker.
I
And plus, it is still the best interpretation of Batman out of those 3 movies.
That's true.
found it kind of fascinating that they had the guts to kind of have Max almost be kind of
Almost
a
mute.
side character. Yeah.
Well, anybody who's seen The Road Warrior knows he only has 12 lines in the whole film.
He's a quiet
Yeah,
guy.
but
He's
he
pretty stoic.
may not have any lines, but he was there's no doubt who's the star
Who owns it?
of Mad Max and the Road Warrior.
All
It
right.
was the guy on the gyrocopter.
That's true. He was great. Nico?
Okay. I kind of wish my my number 6 was a little bit lower just for title
It was
matching.
Black Hat.
No, yeah. No, so the title would match, but no. Hateful Eight.
That's my number 6 as well.
All right, so we're at number 6 again.
Oh.
Yeah, I really want to see the not 70mm version of this.
I don't.
I almost want to see
Just for academic purposes.
Yeah,
I
just to
wanna
see the difference.
That'd be the
Like,
only reason.
I do disagree that I don't see things that could be edited out. I do think some bits of it could be tweaked a little bit, and you would lose content. Like, it would not be as good of a film, but it would still be a good film and not really hurt the story as much. No, overall, I really like it. It's not my favorite Tarantino yet, but I think he does a really good job This one's kind of the same thing as Steve Jobs did. This could be a stage play. It's all in one set.
They're actually in development of stage play.
I will watch that. That would be awesome.
I would watch that as well.
It would be
I said the
amazing.
same thing leaving the theater. It had that feel to
I
it.
want to wait till they do make the stage play and they make a movie adaptation of the stage
That's a
play.
stage play? Awesome.
As a musical.
Directed by
Yes.
Robert Rodriguez.
Yes.
No, but no, it's very play-like in that you have all these characters confined and they're stuck together in a very tight space, and it works. And just it's a pressure boil. It's a pressure cooker, and they just boil over and it explodes, and a lot of blood and bits. I love the bits.
Yeah,
it's not
that's what
just
happens
the
when you
blood
bring
everywhere.
the special effects, the head of special effects for Walking Dead onto your set.
Yeah, and
There's skull and brains and organs.
Yeah, it was Greg
along with the
Nicotero.
blood.
Oh,
The
so
special
it really was
effects.
spec- Okay.
all the characters eventually. I don't think it's really spoilery to say that you find out are fairly all despicable people.
They're all hateful.
They're all despicable.
Not
Yeah.
OB.
That's true. Actually, we don't know. We don't know.
He's so likable, he's not even one of the Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
Yeah, but even he kicked dogs when the camera wasn't on.
I just try to figure out how's the count work out, because there's definitely more than 8
It
people.
shows you in the book.
That's the thing. When I went to go see, they were out of the book,
That sucks for you.
Yeah.
and you've got the books.
I do have the book.
I'm anxious to look at yours.
Yeah, it's out there on the table.
But no, I think it's really good. And the ending is they're all despicable people, but you're rooting for basically the lesser of the
Of the
two
despicable
evils.
people.
And when it's such a cathartic release at the end, it's like, yes,
Mhm.
they showed you, and you knowing if you've seen the movie Who You Is, it's so good and rewarding.
You know who you is.
Who You Is. That sounds like something that Walt Crockett would say.
again.
It
And
does.
I think Jennifer Jason Leigh needs some recognition.
She
some
was
award recognition.
phenomenal in that movie.
Yes.
She did a really good job of being really, really nasty and kind of unredeemable.
Mhm.
The only good thing she did, and not good as in performance wise, but likable, nice thing she did was I liked the song, and the song was still a jab at Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
It was a good song.
It's on my list too, a little bit higher up. But one thing I think is amazing about it, it's funny, it's how long it is, but it zipped by. It may be Quintino's tightest.
Quintino's?
Quintino's. Tarantino's
Quintino.
tightest
I had
movie
this pizza
since,
last night. It's really good.
I think
It's his tightest movie since Pulp Fiction, but it's 3 hours long.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
think
I feel like in some ways it's tighter than Pulp Fiction.
It
I
could
think
be. It could be.
the weird, especially if you went to see the 70mm and you have the intermission, it's such a fascinating switch when it picks back up, because it's still a slow build. You're captivated the whole time, but it's still kind of a slow build going to the intermission, and then after the intermission, it felt like it was 10 minutes long because so much
It
stuff happens
flew
and it just
by,
goes
yeah.
fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
That intermission was basically says, ladies and gentlemen, please put on your seatbelt
Yeah.
now.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything Nico said plus 10. It's just an amazing movie.
Point?
Well, I don't know what number we're on. 6? Let's say 6. Goodnight Mommy, which was...
Oh, God. I love that movie. So good.
I saw that.
Very interesting, gory thriller. I really... If this were another movie, I might be mad at the misdirection of the trailer, but I felt like
Brilliant trailer.
they gave me enough to get me to come in and see the movie, and they delivered enough that I was okay with it.
The best memory I have from that movie, Dwayne and I went to see this movie, is when the stuff starts happening, Dwayne starts uncomfortable laughing, and he looks at me, he's like, Steven, what are we watching?
I mean,
That was kind of my reaction to the movie.
I don't think I'm giving away too much to say. It's almost part snuff film.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, what did we just do?
It really gets
It's so good.
And I really chewed on this movie for a few days afterwards. There was a foreign horror film a few years ago called High Tension.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
High Tension cheats the hell out of the audience.
I think this
That
movie
is
does
a
it
ruin.
better
It's
than High Tension.
it's a good movie, but it cheats
Yeah.
big time.
No,
I
that
agree.
ending ruins everything.
And-
Because when you go to rewatch the film, it doesn't work.
And I
Yeah.
go back, and I haven't seen Goodnight Mommy again, but I start picking it apart the same way I did High Tension, and I'm like, it's more fair.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's perfect, but it's more
I don't think
fair.
a movie that's built on that formula could ever be 100%
No,
fair.
probably
Yeah.
not.
See, the thing is, from you, just to say, I knew the twist going in,
Okay.
and it does work.
Good.
It still doesn't work. So
I was trying to avoid saying that there was a
The
twist because
only-
now you're looking
because,
for it.
yeah,
but-
I got
now you
spoiled.
did it. The only reason this one didn't make my list is because of movies like High Tension. I feel like I've seen that tool before,
Yeah.
but God, it was so good.
It
I
was
have no problem with having it on the list. So I support your decision, unlike Black Hat.
Apparently it was better than Room because Room got kicked off my list. Actually, I didn't care for that movie, but anyway, regardless. Steven.
My number 6 is Spotlight. It's time to get all
That's
serious.
one of the ones I wanted to see.
Yeah, time to get all serious. Spotlight is Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, Stanley Tucci. It's like every great actor.
The cat.
Kennedy wanted to chime in.
Your
I guess-
cat likes the movie.
I guess she does. It follows the team of Boston Globe reporters that are called Spotlight. They're kind of it's kind of crazy the way they work. They have their own little section of the building, and they work on these stories that take a long time to develop, and nobody else that works for the Globe knows what they're doing because it's that edgy of stuff. And they were trying to discover or tell the story of this one clergy that had done something horrible, and as they're investigating him, it's like peeling an apple, and it just to see how it spirals and gets bigger and bigger and bigger into the story that we know today. It's fascinating, and Mark Ruffalo is probably going to get an Oscar nod for it, and he probably deserves it. He's not going to win, but he deserves that attention because he has a couple of monologues that are amazing. It's just really well done. The only reason it's not higher on my list is the only problem I have, and this happens with these kinds of stories, is the first 30 minutes they throw like 25 names at you. And it took me a good bit to figure out who is who and why they're in the story. But it wasn't like Game of Thrones where I needed a freaking book. By the 45-minute mark, you knew what was what.
No.
Game of
Game of
Thrones was
Thrones-
5 books so far.
Yeah, in Game of Thrones, you don't need like a book. You need a family tree.
Well, that's what I mean.
Which is included in the
which I know you tried to give me, and I'm not doing it. Yeah. So it's if you're a fan of movies and just good storytelling, you should watch the movie. Even if the story isn't something you care about, it's something. It's socially, culturally relevant story. It's interesting to see how it came together. And at the end of the movie, in the closing credits, they list the names of every reporter that was involved in the project. And it's just fascinating.
That's
It goes on forever. It's how many there were. And they also list every city that one of these pedophiles was discovered in, including Nashville.
Fun.
We were on the list. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
CA Nashville. No.
I thought Spotlight was good. It didn't make my list. It didn't even make my honorable mentions. Just because it didn't have that drive.
I disagree.
I was watching the film going, when are we going to pick it up?
It's not that kind of movie. It's not that kind of movie.
Well, it was
Now,
advertised like that. And it
one
was-
thing that cracks me up in it, and this is a total filmmaker thing, I don't think anybody else would notice. I started laughing at the very beginning of it. There's a scene where the camera is following them through the office, and they're kind of giving you a feel of the lay of the land. And they go down a stairwell, and they do the horrible filmmaker thing where the camera guy's following one of the actors, and he slings the door really wide open so that camera guy can get through before the door shuts, and it cracks me up because that's why he did it. Held it for a split second, and then slung it. But see it, it's good. Don't listen to Zach. It's really good.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it didn't grab me.
Well, you're wrong. Go ahead, Nathan.
My number 6 is The Loft. And it,
Wow. Wow. You go from Black Hat to The Loft? This is supposed to be a best of list, not a worst of.
this is the best of what I saw.
You-
My opinion. Don't-
Zach, you know
don't
what?
crap on my
You
opinion.
can kind of be a
Son of a
jackass
bitch.
about these sorts of things.
You can.
Dude,
Well-
Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm doing it
Show
right.
it.
I'm doing it right now.
Show it.
Continue with why you
All
like
right, The Loft.
Go ahead.
5 men, they get this loft apartment, basically
Oh,
to
it's the one you
cheat
said.
on their wives or whatever, but a woman comes up missing in this apartment. No one owns up to it. So it's
I saw the trailers for this.
It's the mystery of finding out which one of them or which multiple ones of them killed this woman, and then what happens to it. And it's really interesting.
Is that
So-
Cyclops?
Yeah, it's
James
To
Marsden.
hell with that movie.
Yeah.
It has James
I'm out.
Marsden, Eric
You hate him
Stone
just because he
Street-
played Cyclops.
Yes.
Well,
Eric
okay.
Stone
I
Street,
respect your
who plays
determination.
Cam.
Yeah.
It was also in the crappy Superman.
That's true.
Carl Urban.
I like
but more important,
the
he
salty
sucks.
stuff.
I think Nathan wins for the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score.
What was
There was another one that Black Cat was lower.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Black
why.
Cat's
That's
low.
why he
Yeah.
won.
Yeah,
He
but
won it with
Nathan
Black
wins.
Cat.
That's
Even an
awesome.
actor.
Hey, they say one man's trash is another.
Wait. What was
That's true.
Black Cat's score?
It was like 6 or 3%.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
It was really
It
low.
was
Dude,
good.
bruh.
It was a good movie.
It was.
Because Chris Hemsworth is naked.
Okay, Cat.
It was a good
My number 6 we've already mentioned is Jurassic World. It was just one of the most fun experiences that I've ever
I
had.
love watching Catherine talk about it and Zach's reaction on
I'm
the same
sorry,
screen.
Zach. I'm sorry your taste is up your
It's
bunghole
my
and that you don't like having fun.
So you think that a plot point of we're going to train these velociraptors
Yeah.
to go into the Middle East?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Plot
it's the best thing.
Now you can take it by ISIS.
Oh my gosh, I loved it because I love the absurdity of it all. Here's the deal.
And the
Jurassic
I talk about that. I talk about that too in my blurb. This one on the site. It's like if you're going to go ridiculous, do it, and it did it.
Go full-fledged. Because here's the deal. With Jurassic Park, you're not going to get that like amazing aha moment of like, holy da-da-da, it's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
You're
we've done
never
that.
going to get that again. So what do? You go to the absurd, and you make bigger, better dinosaurs. That, like you said, Nico, that last fight was just so satisfying. And Chris Pratt was everything and more. He
Chris
was like,
Pratt was really great.
he was an American Crocodile Dundee, and I know you guys were all about Bryce Dallas Howard running around in heels and everything, but it was all about Chris Pratt for me. He was absolutely absurd, and it was so wonderful.
Well, my
Like,
favorite part of the movie is like the whole most ridiculous thing, the hamster balls.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes no sense. It's like a ride, but it's not on a track. But then you can easily, if you want to, just take control of it and drive it yourself for the fun of it,
Exactly.
basically.
Like,
It made no
there's
sense, but it was awesome, and I want a real
Yeah.
ride at the Universal for that.
Like
It was
Exactly.
so
when
much
they
fun.
go and find the original park, and like there's no way that Jeep should work.
No.
It's that
But
kid
it
working on it
did.
for like 20 minutes. Who cares? It's such a good scene to see that in the original Jurassic Park Jeep.
Exactly.
That Jeep kind of killed the movie.
It was just
That
one of
is
those
the
things.
stupidest thing.
Nope.
It's that moment.
Now I'm done. Oh, dang.
That moment is almost as bad as Black Hat, where it took me so hard out of the movie. I was
Now.
just like, F you, movie.
No, it's not as bad as Black Cat.
You
I'm
don't
sorry.
get to have
No.
that.
Black Cat is not that bad. Actually, it was a great movie. Besides Chris Hemsworth being naked and stuff, there was some good.
I think there were things in the movie. I recall there were scenes that weren't with Chris Hemsworth.
Cool him off. He's
Yeah,
a little
to be fair,
bit.
I think he does need a lot of.
Yeah, especially as you're talking about Chris Hemsworth. I'm sorry. I love Jurassic World. I firmly stand by that choice, especially seeing
for
it
you.
in IMAX 3D. Best
I'm
choice
sorry,
ever.
the 3D of that dinosaur biting down that big ball was
Oh, it
awesome.
was so good. It was so good.
All
Oh,
right,
I
Zach,
loved
what's
it.
your number 6?
The Hateful Eight. I've already said it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. I'm a little biased though. I love Quentin Tarantino.
Well, a lot of us love Quentin
I'd
Tarantino.
probably jump on his. But anyway,
Oh,
Whoa,
no, that's how much I really love Quentin Tarantino.
I think I need to have.
So,
I don't
okay.
think he
Guys,
wants you
we
to
are
jump
half-
on
So,
it.
Mike, what's your next one?
I mean, no, I don't really have much
What's
to add
number
to it
5?
other than that's my number 6.
Nice.
I've got a feeling this was going to be on other people's list, probably higher up. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
That was my number 5 too.
The
Twinsies.
I mean, it's just a superb
Yeah.
superhero movie.
Great.
It's a great ensemble piece. Everybody's fantastic in it. The story is
I like it better than the first one.
It's better than the
I
first
think
one.
I do too. Yeah, and there's
I'll
one
talk about that
scene-
when I get to it. Cause
the one scene between Stark and Banner that makes the whole movie for me that I just absolutely love. The whole rest of the movie could have been crap, but that one scene would have redeemed it for me. It's just a great movie. The vision is awesome. The Paul Bettany, you finally get to see him and not just hear him. It's fantastic. James Spader, I mean.
Yeah, James Spader was what made it for me. I think so many times a villain is what makes a classic hero movie. To
Yes.
have a classic hero movie, you have to have an amazing villain, a multifaceted villain, and that's what James Spader brought to Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
love
the
it,
AI
the
bad guy is kind of, you wonder if it's going to be kind of clinical. He was unhinged.
Yeah.
I
he
love
was
it, the
sick.
villain that they created.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
but they didn't really.
Well, kind of yes and no, but it's arguable. But they had a part in the creation.
Well, I'm on the
I'm
Stark
gonna-
Banner side. So.
And also, Ultron says that you.
I love it. Mike's
Yeah.
on the Stark Banner
Well,
side.
yeah. Well, and either way, I really loved too that it was a little bit more of a character study of everybody else. You got a little bit more of everyone else's
Actual
history.
character
You
development.
actual character
Those
development.
farmhouse things were
Oh, they were
fantastic.
so
Yeah.
wonderful. And I loved the scenes between Black Widow and Hulk when
Oh,
he was
yeah.
just Hulk. It was so sweet and wonderful. And what's going to happen to them? I want them to make green hot babies, but whatever.
That was. I need the big.
Although
guy.
they can't
Was-
because
Notice
they're
that
both
Nico and I are
sterile,
reserving
but whatever.
comments.
Well, it's up further on my list.
Yeah.
I will discuss it later. So
I figured.
I also didn't talk about Ant-Man when Dwayne had it either.
All right. So now, go.
My next one, number 5, is The Martian. I think we made no secret that we love the book.
So my number 5 is also The Martian.
It's on my list.
It's on my list.
Higher up.
Okay.
And apparently we made no secret that we like the movie too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really remarkably well done adaptation. I'm constantly surprised how well they were able to get the whole diary aspect of Mark Watney making a log into the movie. It makes sense. She's like, oh yeah, he's talking video diary the whole time. That works. But it comes across so well. The only real downside, I think, to the movie is the part where they actually try to be original with the epilogue at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it actually does it. It works for most of the characters except Mark Watney for Mark Wahlberg's not Mark Wahlberg, for Matt Damon's character.
A lot
I had a
of
long conversation earlier today about Mark Wahlberg.
See, this
But,
this one could have easily been way higher on my list. I love this is one of my favorite books of the last few years.
Yeah.
You know, it's up there with
Fantastic.
yeah. The problems that I had, like the direction is great. The visuals are almost like they pulled them right out of my mind. The way the movie looks. One of my favorite things about that book, though, is this sort of snarky sense of humor, and I don't think Matt Damon pulled it off.
They
The
didn't
sense
really
of
nail
humor
that.
doesn't work.
As much as I love the movie, and you'll see kind of when we get around to where it is on my list, but I still love the book more.
The book
I
is
agree.
better. The book is,
I do
but
love the book more.
that's 99% of the time. The book is
Yeah.
always going to be better.
They,
but they could have put somebody else in that role that could have handled that humor a little better. I think
Yes.
Matt Damon is a good actor, but he didn't pull off
I
the
don't-
humor that came from.
I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's Matt Damon's fault. I think it may have just been written that way. Because Matt Damon can be
He
funny.
can be.
Or less so written that way, and more so direction.
More
But that's
direction, yeah.
that's been my argument though. Is if you flip flop the buddies and you put Ben Affleck in the role, he could have
I
handled the
was
humor.
about to say Ben Affleck would have been much
He-
snarkier.
he-
Well,
yeah.
he would have been, but the thing is also, I think Matt Damon pulls off the everyman kind of guy slightly better than Ben Affleck.
Yeah, maybe.
But and that's what Watney is, but it's still not enough to be
Well, but
closer to that
And
normal
the funny
everyman.
part though is I think Mark Wahlberg could have maybe even
I think Mark Wahlberg could have done it. I
and
think
maybe been better than both of the two.
the thing I like about Watney's character in the book is he is very much like an everyday kind of guy. He's like a really smart botanist and has this engineering background, so he's able to do all this stuff. But he's also very making a lot of jokes about the popular culture that he has to be inundated with because it's all that's on there.
Mhm.
Talking about his youth growing up as,
And-
as a nerd, basically.
And some pieces of that made the book so well rounded
Yeah.
are not in the movie.
Now, I mean, given the only other argument is you got a limited time. It's not a book. You have to compress everything.
No,
So,
you're
so
right.
I understand it, and that's why yes, I do still love the book better. But the movie is
It killed me that there's very few books. I listen to audiobooks all the time. There's very few audiobooks where I'm sitting there working, I listen to the book, and it makes me bust out laughing. And that book did it a bunch of times, and the movie didn't, and it
Yeah.
just hurt me so bad because that's so good in the
Mhm.
book. You know, and I hate the epilogue. I don't like the epilogue.
Yeah.
I also have to say, in order to get some of the humor of the book back, you almost have to make it R-rated.
And that's fine. I would have been
And
okay with that.
I think they're both versions.
I don't think so.
No, I
Yelling
think
out the
this
word
is a
boobs
movie-
is not R-rated.
I don't think so.
No,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of F-bombs in the book that make
Yeah.
me absolutely
I-
bust out laughing.
That's
I
true.
think
That's true.
I think it's good that it's rated what it is, that
No,
it's
I think-
accessible
I
what it
think
is,
both
because I think it's a
versions can coexist.
fantastic movie for younger people to see.
Yeah,
It
I
is
think
it's a fantastic
fine.
number 5.
I think the PG-13 version works too, but if you're going for more of the book, you have to push it.
I disagree that you would have had to. I think there are ways around it, but I do
I think
think
there
the
are
humor
too.
could have been done better on a PG-13 level.
Yeah.
So I agree, but and that's why it's 5.
Me too.
All right, Dwayne.
I put this is where Star Wars: The Force Awakens landed for me.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Okay.
a lot lower than I was
That's
expecting.
awesome.
And it's my number 5 as well.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
It is a perfectly
This list was
fine-
hard to make.
It's a perfectly fine movie. I just have there, and I think I have very good reasons for the 4 movies I put ahead of it. It was Steven knows that I went in. I almost had to be drugged to this movie. I probably wouldn't have gone to opening night unless Steven just said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy tickets." I was like, "Sure." I was very apprehensive, and I turned out to like it quite a bit.
That's all you have to say about it?
Yeah.
Well, because you know we're
I'm
going to
sure,
talk
but
about
it's
it more.
just a movie.
Yeah.
It's most likely going to be other places.
All right.
My number 5 was In the Heart of the Sea.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Chris Hemsworth again.
It is Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, so
Wait,
it's
This movie I did not hate though.
I'm going to guess another movie that will probably.
I like Chris Hemsworth, but I don't know if that's the sole recommendation. But
No, for this movie though, it's like how the novel of Moby Dick actually came into existence, like the story behind
Well, it's
it.
Ron Howard's fantasy of how it came into existence.
Yeah,
which is,
but it
Sounds like it's Nathan's
my
fantasy
reality.
about how it comes into existence too.
well, I'm just talking about Moby Dick and Chris Hemsworth with his shirt open. Is enough for Nathan.
But it was actually, if you look, it was like a more poetic cast for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. The stuff that I liked the best about the movie
It's
was
storytelling.
the writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that side of it. I mean, I like the action is great, and Ron Howard can shoot a beautiful movie. But I liked that stuff. It was so subtle and interesting. Did anybody else see this other than the two of us?
I want to.
I
That
like
doesn't really count.
I
Does it?
like
Yeah.
because you go into it thinking you're going to see a lot more of like Moby Dick trying to find this whale, but it's not that story.
Yeah, it gets to that pretty quick and then moves on,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not on my list, but I did enjoy the movie.
And the imagery was just beautiful,
Mhm.
especially like when you're looking at stuff.
Even though we
Yeah.
saw it in some wonky 3D.
Yeah.
Remember that it was.
But it was still beautiful. It was like
was.
with the
It was
sound
gorgeous.
and the image coming through. I was just blown away.
When it comes out on Blu-ray 3D, we gotta.
We'll
Yeah,
watch it over
we
here.
gotta watch
and-
it here, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you
We'll hump the refrigerator and close the
go.
credits.
I still got a half bottle of rum.
It's up there.
There we go.
All right, Catherine.
My number 5 was Age of Ultron, and yeah, I was just kind of discussing that, but and I'm sure we'll discuss it again.
So you want to wait to say anything else till we get to it again?
No. I mean, I'm totally good. I've said pretty much everything that I wanted to say about it. It was just a really good superhero movie. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Zach?
Well, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I already said was.
Oh, that's right. You.
The only thing I would add to it is mission accomplished.
Okay.
I would agree.
There we go.
I mean, I've seen it twice. I really enjoy it. I mean, I did a 2.5-hour podcast on it. I don't know what
We did.
there's left to say.
I am a little bit
even
shocked.
even in my paper that I submitted, it's like my review, my little paragraph section says, I just did a 2.5-hour podcast session about this. What's there left to say?
Oh, we could go on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars, dude. We could go on.
I'm kind of letting it soak in.
Just 8.
And I don't want to have any more. Here's our prediction for episode 8. Oh, I wonder what this character. I don't want to.
I'm tired of that too. I'm tired of
I
that
just
too.
want to let it. I just want to.
Yeah,
That's
because y'all don't like my predictions.
No.
I'm tired.
Your predictions come true. My list will change
It'll be
radically.
awesome.
My list will change radically.
I'm tired of seeing every single movie site because Star Wars clickbait.
Yeah.
We have to make something about Star Wars today because we've done it for the past 2 years. I'm tired of seeing that. I just want to bask in this.
Well, you've got to retrieve this week because now they're going to have something about David Bowie.
Yeah, it's all David Bowie all the time. Nobody's even showing respect to the tall man.
I know. He got kind
I
of
saw
passed
that.
over when Bowie passed away. I was doing trivia last night, that Brain Blast or whatever that was, the one we did.
Thinky?
Yeah, that's the one.
Trivia?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's them.
that.
And their personality, where they gave the 3 clues, was David Bowie.
Oh.
And I nailed it on the first one because I was like, wait, British guy,
Rest in peace,
6'9",
David
it's got to be David Bowie.
Gotta be. All right, so
Rest in
where
peace, David Bowie.
where are we now?
Mike number 4.
My turn.
A tiger made
We're back around, buddy.
Rainbow Tiger.
It's been discussed before. Mission Impossible: Rogue Agent.
Rogue Nation.
Ah.
Rogue, is it
Number
Rogue Nation?
4.
Next Nation.
You know, for a movie that you all liked, why could no one get the name right?
I was the only one that got the name right.
Well, it was in my honorable mentions, but I had it
I
right.
looked it up, so my bad.
Yeah, you're back.
So it's still number 4.
Yeah.
Nation Agent, whatever. It's number 4. I think part of it is the shock. I didn't expect it to be so damn good.
Mhm. I feel like it's been like mine and Nico's job to try to sell these movies and him as an action guy to you guys because it's just so he's good.
I mean, I've been sold on Tom Cruise. He may be
Crazy in person.
crazy
Crazy.
insane. But try to use another
Crusade.
word and almost said it anyway.
Crusade.
The bat crap insane, bat guano insane.
That is one of my
The,
favorite phrases.
But he's an amazing actor, and he excels at action.
Mhm.
I mean, he sells it,
He
and
does, which is crazy.
that motorcycle chase was amazing.
Badass.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything crazy or unbelievable. Well, maybe a little bit unbelievable, but I mean, it wasn't anything where they're
They didn't pull
doing
some
backwards
Matrix crap.
wheelies at 800 miles an hour or jumping on a train or it was just badass riding.
Fast. Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah.
Fast.
It's like
I love there was one
tell
point
other
where he's
people.
leaning over and he's in like a suit, a regular suit, and he leans over and he like starts to like put his knee down. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
oh wait, I'm on a suit. Don't pull back
Yeah.
up. It was amazing.
When you watch the bonus features for that, the first scene of the movie when he's hanging off the side of that plane, they talk to him. They put the camera in his face, right before he does it, and they're like, "What do you think?" He said, "I'm scared as guano." He was flat out with it, and they do the scene and he get off, and he is pale as a ghost. Then they show him the footage. He's like, "We gotta do it again," because he didn't like the scene. They did it 8 times. He hung off that plane 8 times.
Another thing is I've always loved Simon Pegg since Spaced,
Yeah, we all love him.
And and it's really interesting to see him kind of mature into what he's becoming. And the chemistry between him and Cruise was fantastic. I thought it's he just gets more and more interesting the older he gets.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nico, you're number 4.
Nico?
My number 4 is Ant-Man. I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think the thing that impressed me about this movie and caused it to be so high up on my list is the fact that it was the most likely to be the one where everything went wrong. Like I mentioned when Dwayne was talking about it, it was in pre-production since Phase 1, for years, and Edgar Wright was attached to it for years, and then it's finally getting produced. He's out. And they have to scramble. But I think a large part of it is, Peyton Reed, the director of it, did a really good job salvaging what he had, because it was still a really good movie.
Yeah.
And I think Paul Rudd just came in and knocked it out of the park, not just in the acting. He did a fine job acting, but he's also credited as one of the co-writers.
He did much better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
And you know who else I like a lot, and I'm happy to finally see in doing more films outside of being a Hobbit, is Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
I like her.
Evangeline Lilly was great in the role. I think actually Michael Douglas was pretty much exposition the character.
Yeah.
But it wasn't boring watching him do it. It was
Because
still
Michael Douglas is cool.
he
like
is
that.
cool,
Yeah.
and he had that very no nonsensical attitude towards the Scott Lang character. It was just it was basically Scott, you're full of.
Has everybody seen it?
No.
Yes.
It's fun.
I like the Evangeline Lilly setup at the end.
I think the setup's really
Yeah,
good. I think it's
it's
going to
very
lead
nice.
up well to the next movie. And I'm pretty excited for the next movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, the weakest part I think of the movie is the villain is just kind of meh.
You know,
and Corey Stoll.
Shocker. For Marvel.
Yeah, I know. Corey Stoll is a good actor, but it's true. Marvel movies more often than not don't have.
they're not doing great with their villains.
But a lot of that is because they kill them off. If they're likable, they keep them around. Hence Loki.
And my constant argument is that you hardly ever, I mean, outside of Star Wars, you hardly ever get a great villain in the origin story.
Yeah.
You know?
You also hardly, in a lot of other film projects, you hardly ever get a villain that sticks around multiple iterations.
Yeah.
It's very unique to comics, and also then later the cartoons that spawn out of the comics, that your villains persist, because movies are complete stories, and you usually take care of the villain one way or the other by the end.
Yep.
So it's an unfortunate nature.
Yep. Dwayne?
I also went with a Marvel movie for my number 4, and that is Avengers: The Age of Ultron.
Me too.
Oh.
So much fun to see that scene with Iron Man or Tony Stark in the Hulkbuster
That's so good.
armor fight the Hulk. He's so funny about it.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Yeah,
Go to sleep.
and Josh Whedon's fingerprints are all over this movie, which they should be. But yeah, I mean, there are directors who you can watch a movie and you're like, I don't know who directed that.
Yeah.
And writers the same way.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Ant-Man's great, but it doesn't have a signature style to it.
No, but you just the little quips and the way that the characters play off of each other, the nice touches like the Thor's hammer bit, and
That was so
Cap like being able to kind of wiggle it a bit.
Oh, that's the best ever.
Yeah.
I
It's
like
so
seeing
great.
more behind Black Widow and Hawkeye.
That was
Same
nice
here.
seeing Hawkeye's family. That was kind of a neat treat. Linda
Understanding why Hawkeye is part of the team.
Yeah.
That was
And also just seeing too Black Widow, but like her little back.
Her
Well,
backstory.
everybody's
Backstory.
backstory and their fears and whatnot.
Yeah.
It really made them
Their
feel more
vulnerability.
human
Yeah.
and gave them dimensionality to the character instead of just being superhuman person number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really what put it at that number for you, Nathan? Was it the backstories? Was that what put it there?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, that was a huge plus.
Because I was able to relate to each character a little bit more. Because I never was like a superhero type kid or.
Well, and you know the thing about Black Widow is she gets some awesome character development in a Captain America movie. But if you're not a Captain America fan, you'd never know it. If you watch The Winter Soldier, she's awesome
which
in
you
it.
should,
Yeah.
whether you're
She's-
a Captain America
you
fan.
should
That's a
watch
great
it.
movie too.
It's like a Bourne movie with a shield and a great, partner. She's not a sidekick in that, but she's a
Fix the
partner.
camera work.
Shut up.
This
That movie's
I
awesome.
very purposely put this above Star Wars for a number of reasons. One, I do like the movie better than Star Wars, but also for me, my time as a kid was spent more on superhero comics than it was within the Star Wars.
And this is something that we've talked about a lot because Nico, I think you and I are the same way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that way too.
It's going to seem weird in a bit, but
and I have a very strong.
I have good
there,
arguments for all.
there is a very strong reaction when I see, but both Star Wars and Avengers are very emotional movies in that regard for that, because of that. But getting to see the Avengers on the big screen, whereas Star Wars started on the big screen, there was a time we didn't think we would ever get a decent
Yeah.
Marvel movie.
No way.
And now they have created this whole universe.
When I was a kid, I would watch an
Whatever
entire
the-
hour of Electric Company just to see Spider-Man for the last minute and a half.
2000.
You know this show, Electric Company?
I know of it, but I never watched it.
Okay, it had
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman in it, and the show, I don't remember anything about the show except Spider-Man got a little comic strip story in
Yeah.
the last 5 minutes.
I remember
And
that.
would
I
watch the
remember Morgan
entire thing.
Freeman being easy reader.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
what I remember about the Electric Company.
Yeah.
And they did the things with the faces and the words. didn't
That
they?
that did come from there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of that now except for it's,
That's
except
it,
for I
yeah.
put
because
dirty
they
words
parodied
in.
it on
Family Guy.
Family Guy. He was like, it's too fast. I think I made him sound like Cartman. Sorry.
All right, so my next movie is number 4 is Mad Max Fury Road. And I actually had to watch the movie a second time to figure out where I wanted
Where
it
it
on the
goes.
list. Because when I came out of it, I absolutely loved it. But it's true. I was like, there was not enough Max. This was a Furiosa movie, and she was badass, and I love her, but I wanted a Max movie. But when you watch it a second time, he is a badass, and he's there doing his thing. He should. It's almost like this movie picks up a moment in time where he's gotten screwed over, and it happens in every movie he's in. This movie expounded on that one part of his adventure.
It really kind of concentrated on it.
Yeah, and Tom Hardy. I remember when I first saw the movie, I thought, well, I love the way that Mel Gibson he played that stoic character, but he had that little sparkle in his eye still, and it still had just a touch of humor there. But there's some bits of really funny stuff in there. The screwdriver kills me, sticking out of the back of his mask the whole time he's fighting. He's trying to, or the file. He's like that, trying to get the mask off. On second viewing, everything that I loved about it, I loved even more, and the things that bothered me even less. This is a movie that's so clever in its character building with so little story, or it built this world and made it visceral and real, and you knew what was going on, and they did it in like 6 lines of dialogue. And there's not Mr. Exposition. They just let you kind of discover it during the 30-minute car chase. I loved it, and I'd watch a Furiosa movie if they did just a Furiosa movie. I think we are supposed to get another Mad Max movie, and I love that George Miller comes out of nowhere and says, if somebody's going to touch my franchise, it's going to be me, and I'm going to teach you right now why nobody else should do it.
Okay, everybody who's an action director, sit down and watch this movie. I'm going to teach you how to do action.
It might take 3 years of post-production, but we're going to do this crap in for real and not use CG. The CG that's in it is...
It accents. It's just a
it builds the style, the overall look of the movie. In the trailer, it was offensive.
And then we're going to CG all the other cars, which we filmed, and just put them in place.
Yeah, that's really all it was just something they filmed and they just CGI'd together.
And the other, I love the little guy, the little pale guy. Nuts. That guy was great. It's gonna be a beautiful day or whatever.
Lovely day.
Lovely day.
It's so good.
I actually just rewatched that movie Monday.
I did too.
What was
well, not Monday. I watched it Sunday.
Who knows where that might end up?
I don't know. So yeah, that's mine.
Catherine?
Did you really say?
Yeah, but
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It was the other.
That's right. My number 4 was Love and Mercy. And this is the film about...
This one we don't know.
Yeah, this is the film about Brian Wilson. You saw this one.
Oh.
It's so close. It's technically my honorable mention.
Yeah.
No, we know all 20 of your honorable mentions.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, Love and Mercy tells the story of Brian Wilson both in the 1980s and in the 1960s when he was making Pet Sounds, which is one of my favorite albums of all the... It blows my mind how absolutely brilliant this album is. And Brian Wilson is, or maybe isn't anymore, I don't know, he was misdiagnosed, a schizophrenic. He hears voices and things inside of his head.
90%, or no, 80, yeah, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The reason why it's not higher, and so here's the thing, when I came out of the theater, I couldn't speak. I had no words to describe this movie. I was a babbling fool because what's his name again? It's Peter. No.
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano. Yeah. Yes. Okay. He plays young Brian Wilson, and he is the silent brother from Little Miss Sunshine. He's stupidly brilliant. The Academy are a bunch of idiots and fools that they don't give him a nod for this because. I don't have words. He sings for himself, plays for himself. He looks just like him. He sounds just like him. And it's just one of the most compelling performances that I have ever seen. Now, the reason why it's not higher on my list, because just like the 1960s portion, if it was just that, it would be number 1. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't like the flash forwards to the 1980s.
I didn't like them at first. They felt like jarring, weird. I don't know what's going on. And then as the movie went on, it's like, oh.
It made more sense. No,
it was jarring in tone.
It was jarring in tone, but here's the other thing that I didn't like. I totally loved John Cusack plays older Brian Wilson, and he's really great. Really Elizabeth Banks plays his love interest in the 1980s, and she's wonderful as well. I have such a girl crush on her. Who I didn't like was Paul Giamatti, whom I normally adore. he plays the villain in this. He plays his psychiatrist slash manager who's very, very controlling over him, and he was so over the top.
I was about to say him.
Horrible.
Good, eh?
Like he was ham sandwich. He was Porky Pig ham, and I think that was the one thing that just kind of ruined it for me. And it's really sad because I love Paul Giamatti.
This film still has the best use of "Wouldn't It Be Nice." That song, like ever. Like when it came out, I was like,
I
like my head just blew up.
I really can't. And the sequence where he's doing Good Vibrations with his brother, like Pet Sounds has just come out and it was kind of a flop. And he's sitting there, and so they have this, like, they put the a big grand piano in the middle of this sand pit in the middle of their mansion, and the brother comes in, and he's like, well, we kind of screwed over that one. Like, I told you, man, I told you that this album would be too weird, because they used, like, all these weird sounds and everything, and he made it without his brothers, and then the brothers came in and did vocals, and he's like, well, actually, you know, I have a really good idea for a song, and so he starts playing the vamp for Good Vibrations, and they just start arranging it on the spot, and it's insane, I can't, and like when they brought the cellos in for the sorry, my music nerd, like, it was just the most exciting thing I've ever seen. I wish that the 1960s portion was the whole entire thing, or that they would have just reined in Paul Giamatti, because, like I said, it would have been #1.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and it just, like, again, going back to me struggling, it was just like, because you describing it, I'm just like, why isn't that in my top 10? And I'm like, damn it, there's no place for it in my top 10. Why?
But it's all good. Like, it is. I would highly recommend seeing it still. It's so good.
All right, Zach.
Star Wars, wasn't it?
No, that was number 5. Number 4 is a film that apparently no one went and saw. It was called Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
It was on my
I
list
saw
to
the
watch.
trailers, but
I didn't get a chance to see
yeah.
it. Yeah.
You want to talk about the other film that emotionally manipulated me? This film had every single person in the audience, like, openly crying at this film. It was a film I went in knowing nothing. I went in going, oh my gosh, words. I went in knowing absolutely nothing except for the title. And it was a film that completely won me over within 5 minutes. Like, within about 3 to 4 minutes, I was just like,
Are you sure?
holy crap, this film has me at my full attention, and I can relate to it super hard. I mean, no.
I had to switch to the other camera because he touched himself again. When he said that.
Like, really, this is a film that, you know, I've heard the argument of, oh, film geeks just like it because they can relate to it. Well, damn it, I can relate to it. It does work up with me. It works with me on several levels. It has incredible characters. It has incredible filmmaking. There's a whole sequence where it's basically these two characters have a very important dialogue scene. It plays out in one take. At first you're like,
oh, I love those.
No. But at first you're like, oh, well, this is, you know, just going on, and then it gets serious. But we don't break away from this action. We're actually there in the action, so the tension is palpable in this scene. And it works on so many levels. There's a moment in this film, in this movie, where it goes from a movie to becoming a film.
Well, that's
We're using visuals alone, and everybody's on page with the same thing that's going on, and it's just. I wish I could show you the sequence. It's just.
Oh, I'd rather see the whole movie together.
It really is incredible.
It's what you said.
The level that
He's quoting Kylie Jenner.
Oh, of course.
Oh. It's incredible.
He was so disappointed. Oh.
But it's incredible the level the film goes to. It goes from being a great film to being an incredible film. And by the way, number 4...
Rotten Tomatoes only gives it 83%.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes can go suck my... Anyway, my top 4 here are all rated 9.5 out of 10 to me. There's no 10 out of 10 this year, I'm sorry, for me. So really...
I don't think I have a 10 out of 10 either.
This is interchangeable. These top 4, I could literally say, that's number 1 of the year, and I go, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you're gonna,
I could kind of do that.
you're probably going to crap yourself when we get to my stuff. But
well, it's not 50 Shades of
No
Grey.
one's going to like my number 2.
My
sure.
number 1 is 50 Shades of Grey.
I will walk out. And
Mine
I'll
too.
skip my
My number 1 is 50 Shades of Grey.
Steven's number 3 is Black Hat.
That's
And
it.
number 2 is Black
Actually, I
Hat.
like it so much it's my 0.
My number
Nice.
1 is 51 Shades.
Okay, this is never going to end, Mike. What is
So
your
number 3, Hateful Eight.
All right.
That's a good movie.
I just thought it was fantastic. The whole experience was fantastic. The build up to it, the wondering, I mean, we were planning to go to Knoxville or Atlanta. If
We were going to road trip that.
We found out we were able to get
Thank God that didn't
in
happen.
Nashville. The getting together. We didn't see it Christmas Day, but we saw it that weekend.
That weekend, yeah.
Which is a fact I'm very happy for.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, kind of. It's just everything happened to it. You were talking about. It was a movie-going experience.
Mhm.
It wasn't just going to the multiplex and seeing another one. I mean, plus it was just all that wouldn't really matter if it wasn't a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Tarantino. I've enjoyed every one of his
Bad
movies.
Tarantino is still pretty
Bad
entertaining,
Tarantino is still.
but good Tarantino
That
is.
Tarantino is still highly watchable.
And
Yeah.
this is amazing. It's of course it's a Tarantino film through and through.
Yeah.
But I really think he's one of the things he's done is he's kind of indulged himself a lot in some of his later movies.
No.
That's not being that insightful. That's a pretty obvious statement. But I mean, this even for being 3 hours, it still amazes me.
It
How
just
tight
flew
it is.
by.
It flows by. There's nothing
Yeah, exactly.
extraneous. There's nothing. It's just it's just 20 foot tall and bulletproof. There's no fat on it.
Don't you quote country music lyrics to me.
Is that?
I think
I'm
so.
sorry. Is
I
it?
think it is, yeah. Right.
Nico.
Now I feel pretty-
Nico.
My number 3 is, and it's the same thing with Zach. I alternate pretty much of my top 3 could go back and forth. Avengers: Age of Ultron. Wow. Yeah.
All right.
I'll kick off this point. Avengers was my top film of 2012.
It was mine as well.
And the point is made that it's a better movie than Avengers. Technically, I think that's accurate,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it doesn't have the magic that Avengers has when the team came together.
Isn't
Like
it
the
kind
first
of like
time?
it's kind of like the Jurassic Park thing? You can't have that moment again.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to figure that out because theoretically, like, it's maybe a faulty comparison, but in Empire, the team's not being brought back together, but it's still objectively and emotionally and every level the best movie of the franchise.
It is.
Kind of have to disagree because I think when the team actually came together,
I
when they're
think-
fighting all those droid robots.
Well,
And slightly, they came back together because the movie starts with them together. And maybe that's what it is. The movie starts with them together.
when Vision popped out of the box, to me, was an amazing moment.
I think, but it's in. That said, it's still a really good movie.
Well,
It's
the
really
ultimate
fun.
moment of that
I'm
is when he
arguing with-
walks from out of the scene into the scene and tosses Thor's
The
hammer
hammer,
to
yeah.
him. It's
Oh, yeah.
like, oh,
That's
crap.
that's so well shot. The whole
Yeah.
it's like do not show Vision's hand because we gotta wait until he lifts it up that we see that he's got the hammer.
I'm arguing with him about it, and he put it higher on this list than I did.
Yeah,
So
how dare
that's-
you.
No,
yeah.
my criticisms are very light on this one. I understand that some criticisms that some of the characters maybe aren't as developed as the rest of the cast, like Thor.
Mhm.
But it's a huge ensemble cast, and again, a lot of them get
Well,
so
I
good.
take issue with people being too,
Picky on-
pissy about that,
because
unless you're talking about characters that don't have their own movies.
That's
If you
true.
want to know more about Captain America, guess what? You've got 2 complete movies to learn about this dude. We don't have to see it in an
if only
Avengers
Thor's second movie was better.
And one is probably the best backstory, or at least the most complete backstory we've had.
Yeah.
on a
I think
movie.
Yeah.
Captain America 1 is like the best way that ever could have been done.
Well, I don't know. I
But-
think Iron Man 1 is pretty great too.
It's
But
good, but I feel
I-
like we know more about Cap than we do.
No, I think even with the short amount of time, particularly with the characters that don't get their own movies, Hulk and Black Widow, the twins, Wanda, Quicksilver.
Technically, Hulk had his own movie.
Wow,
Technically, you
Kinda.
did. We just don't admit to that.
technically it did,
But,
but one actually doesn't count.
no, it does. It does.
No, Hulk doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No,
It does.
Are you talking about the Edward Norton one?
no, Edward Norton one does count. He said 2. The one prior to that, the
The magnificent Eric Bana one.
doesn't
Eric Bana.
count. It's literally not
Hey, the
canon.
only thing that made that one good is Jennifer Connelly.
It's not.
Well,
canon
Nick
in the
Nolte
universe.
just
Nick Nolte's a crazy.
Nick Nolte
Jack
be
Bono
crazy.
insane.
And I liked the comic panel transition
I like
they were
that
trying to do. But that's digressing.
Yeah.
I freaking love James Spader in this movie. Like his dialogue, every time he talks, it's just like I just
It's
want to listen.
operatic.
It is.
It
It's
really
very
is.
hypnotic.
Yeah.
He's such a good villain.
He is.
And I just love this movie so much. It's just not quite, in terms of hitting those emotional high notes, as high up on my personal list of Marvel movies. It's probably third under Avengers, Cap 2, and then Age of Ultron, and then so on and so forth.
I probably wouldn't argue that list too aggressively.
I
You
still
wouldn't put Guardians of the Galaxy up there?
Guardians of the Galaxy would probably be like 4 or 5.
Guardians of the
but-
Galaxy, Guardians is a whole separate thing. It's cosmic. It's a sci-fi movie. It's
The-
not super-
the
Okay,
reason-
well again, the
the-
reason why I like it better.
The reason, and I love
enough.
Cosmic and stuff.
Okay.
The reason Guardians doesn't hit that same way is because I don't have that same.
I didn't grow up with a comic.
Exactly.
You didn't grow
it's
up
that.
with
It's
it.
exactly.
But see, I
that.
didn't grow up with any of these comics, so I'm just going off of
And
stories like.
that's like why I said. Why I
so-
said that Avengers: Age of Ultron's a better movie, a better film technically than Avengers, but Avengers hits those emotional high notes.
Yeah.
Guardians is great. It just doesn't hit those emotional high notes.
You know,
the
for
same way.
me,
Yeah.
in Ultron, Age of Ultron, probably the scene that really actually hits those emotional high notes for me the best of the entire movie is the very first scene. It looks like a moving comic where they're all
It does.
fighting
It's pretty
together
nice.
and they're moving around from panel to panel. It's like I could feel like I was flipping through those pages.
I
They
love
knew
when
what
I
they
was
were
12
doing
years
with that first.
I love listening to the commentary on that one. The commentary is great to listen to. Just listening to Whedon reminisce about what he thinks about the film.
Mm.
But the debate back and forth on how to start the movie, he just basically goes, we need to start it with the team already together and doing what they do. And that's exactly how this movie begins. And there's no better way to start it because
Mhm.
it's what you know is going to happen. And then the film decides to break and dismantle the entire team.
You know, and people have complained that the Avengers can't come together for the world being nearly devastated in what happened in the Thor movie. I'm like, they're coming together to basically to get a cosmic cube.
Yeah.
In essence, I mean, this is a big freaking deal.
And they really came together because Thor was back in Asgard the whole time. He's only back on Earth after Thor 2,
Mhm.
and then could come together. They could
Yeah.
have really done it as well.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Dwayne.
Steven, my number 3 movie is Deus Ex Machina.
Is that one of them pornographic films? It's about robots.
I didn't know
isn't
God
it?
was in the machine.
You know, I didn't know a lot about this movie going into it. I love the isolation of this movie. I love the camera work. You've said in the past that you don't care for Oscar Isaac that much. He rocks this role.
I love him in that movie.
He is
Mhm.
so. Even for the first moment he's introduced,
Like him in other signature films.
it's like there's something about him you don't quite trust. Like he's trying to be this guy's friend, but he's really distant and weird. I liked this movie.
You kind of want to like him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you do, but you know
better than
you
to
know,
like.
and I can't go into a lot without giving it because this is a movie that you really do need to experience.
There's a
and
few
I
people that
don't
really need to
want
see it here.
to give stuff away.
Catherine, you would love this one as well.
I know I would, and I had the opportunity to watch it, but I think I watched San Andreas instead.
I'm sorry for
Not
you.
a good choice.
But
Hey,
I
it
will
was my
say,
choice.
depending on your mood, you don't need to watch this one tired
That
because
was the thing. I was very tired, and I was like, I don't really care if I fall asleep during San Andreas. And
this
I did.
movie, this movie has a very purposeful, slow burn
Yeah.
type pace. It doesn't feel like it's dragging to me. It's moving at the right speed for the story it's
I
telling.
bet there are people who see this movie and they say that it is boring. And
You are
those
wrong.
people
You're
are
wrong.
wrong. It is a slow pace, but it is well worth the payoff.
It's like when
Truth.
people say the Hateful Eight is too long. You are wrong.
You
They
are
are
wrong about
wrong.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? They have a specifically shorter version for those people.
I'm going to keep this short. My number 3 was Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I loved a lot of things about this movie. I loved seeing the old characters back. I love BB-8. I love that it feels real, that there's actual things in it. It's not all CGI. I don't like that it's a remake of A New Hope.
I'm not getting into this with you.
Did you?
We've already had this conversation.
That's why we're not having it again.
We're not having it again.
No.
I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be on somebody else's list.
I
No.
would be willing to engage again, but it's
Well,
Yeah,
well, but
and
no.
that's it.
Wait,
This is turning
yeah,
into
this
a
is
play.
not a debate. This is not a debate. This is just me saying why it's at 3
Right,
and not at
right.
number
Yeah.
1.
Fair enough.
Now, two things could happen. One, if the next movie is not Empire, this movie will move up further in my list. If the next movie is Empire, this movie is stricken from my list completely. That is how I feel about it.
So you
I'm
gave
that
this,
serious
like,
about
an
it.
8 out of 10. If your number 3 is an 8 out of 10, you got some room to go. I guess.
Well, but then again, too,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're putting these together, I don't know if you necessarily
Well,
would rate them and
yeah.
then just.
Yeah, you can't sort them by
Yeah.
that. Because sometimes a movie can be really rewatchable and fun, but not be that great a movie.
Cannonball Run.
Score-wise, yeah. So I'm just going to stop there. I mean,
Okay.
we've talked this movie to death, but
Fair enough.
that's where it falls on
Yeah.
my list.
My number 3 is Jurassic World.
Yay!
Yay! I knew it would. I thought it'd be
Because
higher.
Jurassic Park is probably one of my favorite franchises. It's not as good as the original. It's not, but it's definitely number 2 in the Jurassic Park.
Every time this movie gets mentioned, I think
And-
Zach melts a little.
And what I loved about this is the hidden tributes to the original. Like, you had the Jeep. You had the little Gene guy that was floating on the
Mhm.
screens. You had the doctor who created... I mean, it was just perfect. It was awesome.
The more you cover,
I
the more
love this movie. And I'll tell you this. It did something that the other movies did not. It gave a character... It, like, put a name to a character, or to a dinosaur, and made that dinosaur a full character.
Blue.
Blue. Blue. Like, Blue, you are
Oh
like,
my
if they, like you're like a little puppy.
You're my boy, Blue!
Was the beta. He was the Velociraptor that was the beta.
Yeah,
Who's the
last
alpha?
survivor,
I'm
last
the
survivor.
alpha.
Help the T-Rex defeat whatever the camouflage monster.
I love it.
But
Yeah, that
oh,
thing.
and the giant shark crocodile.
Oh, that
fish
thing was
dinosaur
so awesome.
Awesome.
Mhm.
It was so great.
Oh, you know what just occurred to me? I love that you just got mildly irritated with me about my criticism of Star Wars, but it's higher on my list than yours. That's a good point.
That's actually a very valid
Very
point.
How dare you?
All right,
I choose not to
number
recognize
3
it.
on my
I
list.
can be irritated.
Number 3 on my list is The Martian.
You cheated. You just switched it.
Shut up! He just took it. I just sent it in. I was thinking about it, and there's one that deserves to be higher.
See, what you just went through is what I've been going through all week.
I love it.
It was just my top 3. Okay, so yes, I was super duper excited for this book. And I loved watching it. I absolutely adored watching it. And yes, I did. I just switched my 2 and my 3, but it's because I just, you will see why I switched it afterwards. Because, okay, thinking about it now, I absolutely loved it. Like you said, I loved that it was all taken from my mind, but I did not love Matt Damon as Mark Watney. I think that there would have been way better choices. Everybody else who was cast in that, I was like, yes,
Everybody.
yes. I loved it.
What's her
loved
name?
it, loved it.
Jessica Chastain?
Yeah, and Kristen Wiig as the
Crazy, some of
NASA
the movies
liaison.
this year.
It's great, but
Even
he
Kate
just
Mara, except for
wasn't my
Epilogue.
she wasn't totally annoying. He
Which is a
wasn't
big
my
deal.
Everything. And he's the main character.
He was
so,
what they thought would sell tickets.
Yeah. So
And they were right.
that
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think he did a bad job.
He didn't do a bad job. It just wasn't everything
wouldn't
that
have
I
been the
had.
best.
It was a little bit of a lost
Yeah.
opportunity.
So
I think.
that's the reason why it's my number 3. I loved it, but it's not my everything.
You go.
So
Right.
Zach? Zach?
Uh,
Number 3?
Number 3 was a film also nobody saw. It's called Kumiko the Treasure Hunter.
Oh, crap. That was on my list, and I didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was planning to watch this dang movie.
This
Go
is
ahead.
this is a film that I needed more than anything. This was a film that when I went and saw it, it was in early or mid-April, and everything coming out was like fast-paced action, octane, and this was a film that could stop, breathe, and take its time. It's a slow film, but it's one of those wonderfully slow films where if any faster of a pace would have ruined it. It's basically about this office worker girl named Kumiko who lives in Japan. When she finds this tape of Fargo, like the VHS tape.
The movie Fargo.
The movie.
Yeah,
And
the
she
Coen Brothers
believes-
movie.
She
Yeah.
believes that it's, it says based on a true story or based on true events that have happened. We've changed everything. So she believes out there in the middle of the field, someone buried money. So she goes on a trip, basically ruining her life, to America to find the money.
That's funny.
It really is. It's almost like a morbidly funny, sad look on someone who's extremely extroverted that literally drops everything and says, "I'm going to do it and go look for this."
Extroverted? Or?
I was gonna say
sorry, introvert.
Okay.
I was gonna
Very,
say
very
that's
introverted.
not
She
what I.
even sees one of her friends on the street, like from a few years ago, and just doesn't want to talk to them. Like wants to avoid them at all costs.
I've done that with you guys.
We do it with you
Yeah, and
and with Zach.
I've been there before. And it is.
This is a very depressing conversation all of a sudden.
It is a beautifully shot film. Absolutely.
I'm
stunning.
hearing nothing but really good
Yeah,
things about
John
this.
saw it.
Wonderful. It is also a very bittersweet film to where you're really rooting for her, but you just know. I mean, really, she's looking for treasure from a movie.
That doesn't. Yeah.
It's
Doesn't-
not going to happen.
It does. It's not going to end well.
It's not going to end.
One of those you know the ending, but it's not about that. It's
Yes.
about the journey.
Oh, it's absolutely about the journey, literal journey.
I'm going to look at this. I don't want to talk about it too much
I really
because of
would
the,
recommend
Fair
this.
enough.
This is
Yeah.
a film that.
don't spoil it.
All right.
Whatever this writer-director team, it's the Zeller brothers do. I'm very much looking forward to their next project.
Alrighty.
All right, Mike, number 2.
The Martian. And we've already talked about its good points and bad points. To me, the reason it's so high on my list is it's not a perfect movie. There are the for the reasons we've discussed, but it just resonated with me. It was just simply, it was magic, and it's one that would just stayed with me throughout the year. You know, I just continually think back to Watney. And to be perfectly honest, I guess maybe part of it is just because the book had such a big impact on me, and you think of Mark Watney, and now you kind of think of both of them. But it's just a fantastic movie.
It's so funny when I think back about that because I think I started to annoy some of you guys. I was pushing that book so hard.
Until we actually started to
Right.
read it,
Actually
and
read
I was
it.
like, oh my God.
Praise the love of God, read it.
I think Nathan's the only one in this room who hasn't read it.
You should
You never read it?
No.
What?
It's on
Audio.
a Kindle somewhere.
get the audiobook. The audiobook is amazing.
Yeah, I should probably do that. I think I've got to keep
Yeah, I
that.
played the audiobook too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right,
Nico, number 2.
Okay, my number 2 is Mad Max Fury Road.
nice.
I really enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would. One of the things that another category that I rank highly on it, if you surprise me in terms of how much I actually enjoyed this movie going into it, because I've seen the Mad Max movies before, but they never latched on. But it's been years, and this movie really makes me want to go rewatch all of them.
Yeah.
I love the odd amount of gravitas this movie has. You don't expect it going in because the trailer is just explosions, cars and explosions. That's all the trailer is. And go into this movie, and it's very light on plot complexity. You talked about it already. Very light on exposition. You know what the movie is very quickly, and it's just following these characters, and they're all very tragic characters. They have very horrible lives. They don't go through their backstory. They don't give you a flashback or tell you their story. You can tell easily.
You get very minor.
There are no happy
Oddly,
childhoods.
you get very minor literal flashbacks with Max.
Yeah, but it's more confusing than anything because it doesn't really tell you anything about his backstory.
It tells you
Kind of.
that he was a cop.
Yeah.
And some really bad stuff
I
happened.
don't know the backstory ever. Like the flashes really imply the cop.
No, he says it in the first line of the movie. He says, "I was a cop." And
Yeah,
then you get these
that's
flashbacks
true.
of the same girl. Something very, very bad has happened.
Yeah.
Is that? And then of course you get a little bit of Furiosa. But I think it's enough.
No, I think it is really enough. I mean, particularly like characters like Nuts, you get nothing. He's one of the most tragic ones in the whole thing.
But I think it's post-apocalyptic.
It is
Nobody has a backstory.
It is, and you don't need one. I think it's a really good show of the tyranny of all these people that are fighting against and trying to escape. Not just the tyranny of Immortus Rex or Immortus Joe, but also just the tyranny of the harsh world that they live in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Cool. Wayne?
My number 2
Should be
is
interesting.
Steve Jobs. I am a huge fan of Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me.
Whereas Ex Machina was kind of a surprise for me. That I went into this movie with knowing exactly how much I would like it.
Yeah.
it's higher on my. It gets a bump on my list because there is a Simpsons clip in the movie, which also happens to be one of my favorite Simpsons clip where Nelson is using an Apple Newton to make a note to beat up Martin, and it comes out as "Eat Up Martha," which is a classic.
True.
Aaron Sorkin has a way of putting beautiful people in his movie, and they deliver this dialogue back and forth to each other, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's true.
I love him for that. One of the reasons to this day, if I am flipping channels and A Few Good Men is on, I will stop what I'm doing
love that
and
movie.
watch that movie because I love the way the dialogue is written.
I find I love so many of the movies he's been involved with. I just need to watch The West Wing.
And
not watched it.
yeah, Social Network also good. Sports Night was a huge I skipped Sports Night when it was initially televised because it is a sports show. Why would I want to watch this?
Same with me.
And I happened to catch an episode in syndication on Comedy Central, and I was like, I have committed a crime against TV.
Sports Night typically, because of that same premise, I wouldn't watch it, but I caught it on ABC.
Yeah, let's not spin too far out of control.
But no, yeah, that's true. That's enough on
TV.
that. I love
Yeah.
Sports Night. I love Aaron Sorkin. So.
All right, cool.
Steven number 2.
My number 2 is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
There you go.
And it is my number 2. I also think it is, for me, a better movie than Star Wars, and that's the reason it's where it is. And like you said, I spent the majority. I saw all the Star Wars movies, but I spent, 16 years of my life looking at Avengers comics every month. In fact, for years as a child, my most exciting Christmas present I got was an envelope because my mom would prepay for a subscription. Back when I was a kid, you could subscribe and they would mail them to your house. And I would get so pissed because they would come in a brown envelope, and if it rained, the cover would get effed up. But that first scene, like I said, that's a live action comic. This movie gave us a little more depth on the two characters that don't have their own movies. There's action, comedy, superheroes, and they set up an awesome set of Avengers for the next movie.
Yeah.
The great thing that people who are watching the movies don't understand, that comic book fans do understand, is the Avengers changes. You get a year, maybe 2 of a team of 6, and they change them. They pull them out and put new ones in.
Sometimes they move to the West Coast.
Sometimes they move to the West Coast. That's true.
Sometimes.
So for me, it's probably
that
a
you're
little scary.
You're drinking out of an Avengers cup right now.
It's a little scary probably as filmmakers to do that switch, because you've sold mainstream America, the world basically, on these characters, and you're about to put a whole new set in there. But I think they built these new characters up, the Vision in particular, so well, and the Scarlet Witch came out better than I thought, even though that's not the Scarlet Witch. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm even getting to where I like Falcon a little bit.
I enjoy Falcon more because of Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's my number 2.
My number 2 is Furious 7.
What the?
Nathan, did I ever tell you you're my hero?
I will tell you.
Everything.
I think that Nathan just became Dwayne's Huckleberry.
Well, good. Then my goal is accomplished.
God, if
This
you make him have an aneurysm on the show,
It'll be gold.
This movie to me, and rest in peace, Paul Walker.
why is that funny? I don't know, but it is.
But
I'm so sorry, Paul Walker. I'm so sorry. It was his
of
fault.
all the Fast and Furious movies, this is by far the best.
Well, look, this is your defense right here. Hang on, let me pull this up.
It's by far the best one.
Zach, this needs to shut Zach up right now. Look at this.
I don't think you will.
Look at this. That's not bad.
81%.
That's better than some of the movies on Zach's
81%
list.
of
Yeah,
all the movies.
exactly.
Yeah.
Such as
That's
The Hateful Eight and what
Well,
else?
well, okay.
Nothing else. Uh-oh.
This just shocked me a little bit because I liked Furious 6 so much. It was so
I haven't seen
awesome.
the franchise, but when I go into this one, I go, wow, it's a piece of crap.
well.
I was a little disappointed with
I
this
didn't
one.
quite get the
After
love
5
of this
and
one.
6.
I don't-
6 was so
Like, if
freaking
you said
good.
it's a decent, kind of tongue-in-cheek action movie, but it's nowhere near.
So what?
I love
what
this because
specifically?
it went
I was
back
gonna say.
to like the core group and like going back because in all the other Fast and Furious movies, you got like bits and pieces of characters from the series. This goes back to the core group where you're talking about Toretto. Vin Diesel plays his character Toretto.
Yeah, Toretto,
his sister, Paul Walker, Michelle Rodriguez is back in it.
Mhm.
It's just like the core group of people, along with the people they've added along the way.
Now,
And
see,
it's the family dynamic of it.
my favorite thing of that movie is The Rock. I
Yeah,
love
he's
when he
smart.
decides it's time for action, he just gets up out of his hospital bed and he's got all of his weapons and armor and stuff right there with his daughter sitting in, and he's strapped like he flexes his muscle to bust the cast off his arm. The whole movie should have been like
and
this.
I love-
Yes, it should have been like that, where it's like cheesy and fun, but you're with it.
And,
But
and
the
what
film
is
just goes
Michelle
for such a
Rodriguez said something
series.
to him like, "Where's the cavalry?" And he's like, "The cavalry is
Woman,
here."
I
baby."
am the cavalry.
Woman, I am the cavalry. That's
Oh,
it.
Such a great line.
Yeah, really good, really fun.
For me, it was a personal great movie. Obviously, if you guys liked the Rock so much, you shouldn't be ragging on my choice. So
Well, yeah, I can't rag
You
on
can
it
suck my
because your
dick.
movie decided to sit the Rock down
If
and
you're-
take it out of the movie.
so it's already been broken.
And, you know, I wouldn't be ragging on your choice if it was number 38.
Nope.
But
Well, okay, number 2 on my list was, you guys aren't going to rag on me because it's been on nearly everybody else's list, is Inside Out.
so freaking good.
It took me a long time to get into this one because everybody said, I'd heard so many mixed reviews about it, and Pixar doesn't have the best track record right now.
Yeah, they're rolling it
But
a little bit.
I was actually legit crying. I was laughing the whole way through the whole Bing Bong storyline. She meets and Amy Poehler, who plays Joy. She voices Joy. She's one of my personal heroes, and she was just a perfect leading lady.
She disappears.
And she's
It's not Amy Poehler, it's Joy.
It's Joy. And but anyway, she eventually meets the girl that she's in her head. She meets Riley's imaginary friend Bing Bong, and he's so brilliant. It's Mr. Lefkowitz from Kimmy Schmidt. I can't remember his name, but he's
Richard Kind.
so
Or maybe the first time in his whole career he's not annoying.
Exactly, and he's so wonderful. Like it's such a good movie, and it's such a, it just says so many good things, especially like you said with the whole entire thing of sadness. And Phyllis from The Office plays Sadness, and she's so
Oh my
perfect.
God,
Like,
she's awesome.
you would think that it would be the most annoying thing in the entire world, but it's so perfect in the way that it ends up. Like, that's the reason why I changed it, because thinking about it more, that definitely deserves to be higher on the list than The Martian. And plus, too, it's Disney, it's Pixar, it's nostalgia for me. I can't
Sure
help
it
it.
is.
And I want Mr. Bing Bong. I want a Mr. Bing Bong.
What I
stuffed
love about
animal.
Sadness, though, is she knows not to touch she doesn't need to touch the globes, but every time nobody's paying attention, she's like, touch it.
They're like, what happened? She's like, oh no. And plus she's like Eeyore, and I love Eeyore. Oh, it's so good.
See, I really like the movie. I just don't get why everybody's crying over it.
Oh, I think it's really emotionally strong.
Because I never
It's
felt.
very emotional.
It brought a tear to my eye, and that
never
doesn't
felt-
happen
and
that
this may
easily.
just be me, but in the whole film, I was like, I never felt anywhere close.
No.
Oh, I did,
Okay.
and I
did.
feel like maybe because
And I'm not saying the movie's
you know,
wrong. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I never.
they
felt
did it in such a way, you know, I was afraid too that when you're going to try to hit those emotional beats and you have a female lead, I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to relate.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with Toy Story, it didn't matter what gender
Mhm.
because everybody related to their toys.
Yeah.
But the way they portrayed her is the emotions that mattered and the things she went through that mattered. Didn't matter whether she's a boy or a girl.
Mhm.
I could remember going through some of that at that
Yeah.
age and dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
It is, and I mean, especially with the move, because I moved so many times as a child, and there were so many things in there, and you know, like, it was just so funny that there were just like little voices in your head talking it through. Like, that's such a brilliant way to do it, and it's such
And
a
the
brilliant
islands,
way to look
the
at
way
it.
that the little
It's
it was
There's so
something
much,
happened
so
in the
good.
marketing of that movie.
Yeah.
The marketing didn't work because it did not
No.
sell
And
it to
again,
me.
where is the Mr. Bing Bong stuffed animal? I saw
Yeah.
Joys everywhere, but I need a Mr. Bing Bong now, and I need him to smell like cotton candy.
Nice.
Hmm.
All right, Zach.
And we,
All right. Well, for my number 2,
Steven still got it.
I have to say,
Oh, did we lose?
Yeah, well, everyone except for you so far.
All right.
All right. Well, for my number 2, I guess you could say
Um,
it is awaited in Valhalla because Mad Max Fury Road kicks some serious ass.
So that was your number 2?
That is my number 2. We've discussed pretty much all of it, but this is a film where I went to an advanced screening. Haha, it's the podcast for it too. And coming out of it, I'm like, man, this was such a kick-ass film. It's a shame that mainstream audiences aren't going to pick it up. I just feel like it's going to be not because it was so out there. Let's just be honest. A lot of films like
It
this
actually
do
did
not
pretty
get
well, though.
made today.
It did well.
Well, that was such a great feeling. It got reviewed well, it was received well, it made money, and now they're saying it's probably going to get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture.
One of our
If it gets just a nomination for Best Picture, I'll be so
That would be
happy.
amazing.
it's not going to happen.
I bet it does.
I bet it doesn't.
Or are they
It
doing the
does.
thing where they nominate like 20 films again?
They'll nominate the real estate thing that I saw, the Big Short. They'll nominate that. They'll nominate Spotlight. I mean, there's too much Oscar bait out there. Revenant is probably going to
want
get.
the Danish girl to be nominated? Oh,
Probably.
That's pure Oscar bait.
I think Mad Max has a chance to be nominated. I don't think it'll win.
No,
but
I don't expect it to win. I just want that nomination.
I think it's a good chance to get nominated just because it'll get people talking and interested in the Oscars.
All right, Mike. Number 2.
Warren.
1.
Oh, 1. Oh, yeah, we're sorry. Wait.
We're
finally here.
Okay,
We're finally
is
here.
there any doubt what my number 1 is?
No.
I don't know.
And you are wrong, sir.
How many of us do you think there is?
Is it number 1?
Yeah, that has that number 1.
Go ahead.
2, 3,
4, I think.
4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Of course, Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else. Catherine is the number 1. You're number 1. And it's your number 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys go.
You
I'm not
guys,
saying anything.
you guys talked about how the Avengers was, you read you identified more with the comic books and Star Wars. Well, I was just the opposite. I was a Star Wars kid.
I agree. That was me too.
I didn't get into comic books. I only lightly got into it. I was older. But I always had, as long as far back as I can remember, they had the, R2-D2 and Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Darth Vader. Of course, he lost the cape pretty soon, and Luke and Vader lost a little lightsaber ones or whatever. One of my earliest memories is a nightmare where I got Star Wars and American Graffiti confused. It's just a part of me. It had a huge. I saw it when I was 6 years old. It had a huge impact on my development. And just the fact that this movie comes out and it is so good after the prequels were so bad.
But you know what's funny though, and I've been thinking about this too because you just said that the prequels are so bad. But I remember one guy who skipped college classes to go watch them over and over again.
Oh, there's a lot of people that love the prequels.
I mean, that was you. You watch them a lot.
No, not the prequels.
Are you sure about that? Because we talked
I'm
about
sure.
it. You and I saw them more than once.
I skipped a lot.
College classes?
I probably skipped college classes to watch Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to say like I don't.
No,
I don't think
I'm
like,
trying to remember. You and I.
They came out when I was in
The
college.
timeline,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say.
Yeah.
Those prequels came out when I was in
But then
college.
it wasn't college. But I remember us talking about it, and you would say you were going to see whatever it was.
I think I maybe saw Attack of the Clones in the theater twice.
Really?
I did not even see that in the theaters.
I saw all of them in the theaters. Yeah.
But
I kind of wish I saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters, but I do not have.
But this movie, it's even without all of that, it's still a fantastic movie. But I won't deny that it's the reason it's number 1 is because of.
Well, sure, it's the
personal
reason
place it's in
Avengers is
in my
number
heart.
2.
But it's just a fantastic movie, and I love that it. And I'm having trouble finding words that have a good connotation of it. But it is everything that you've said about it as a criticism. I agree with you. It is hitting major themes from the first movie. In ways, it is kind of a retread of the same story. But to me, those are positive things. It's reinforcements. I just thought it was fantastic. It's the only movie I saw 4 times this year. So and I'm planning on seeing it again before it leaves the theater.
I want to see it one more time before it leaves the theater. Also, I need to.
I agree, except my number 1's Fantastic Four.
No, that was the other one. That would be the trifecta of wonderfulness. Fantastic Four, Black Hat, 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm sorry, I thought we went back to our worst
I'm
list.
sorry,
No,
does anyone smell burning his toast?
I
I have an aneurysm coming up.
it is weird because while I enjoy Star Wars from my childhood, comics have always been my main thing. But again, I think it's coupled with the fact that Avengers didn't replicate the map. If this was the year Avengers came out versus Star Wars, Avengers would have won handedly.
Mhm.
But because the points I made talking about Avengers
Sure.
Age of Ultron, that Star Wars took it because it was the film I think we needed it to be.
Mhm.
I understand the argument of it being a retread, and at some point I do agree. I think if anyone's going to argue that it's a remake of A New Hope, the argument has to be made that it's a better remake of A New Hope than A New Hope, because I think it is a better movie.
No.
I do like it better than A New Hope, because I think it's...
See, that falls into the whole innovation part of
That's
what I look for.
fine, the innovation's fine. I think, but quality of, like...
Star Wars had never
Having
been done
rewatched
before.
New Hope, like, the week I saw Force Awakens, and be able to compare the two, just like, this movie versus this movie, I think Force Awakens is a better film.
Well, I
Empire,
think part of that how does it stand the test of time?
yeah, Empire I think is handedly still better, no question.
Yeah.
And I do agree that the going back and being such so reverent to the original film, A New Hope, and all the franchise will break down if they do not then decide to go in new directions and try to do things for the subsequent 8 and 9.
Mhm.
Those films do need to better stand out because this film had a specific job, and it is to bring everyone back around to what Star Wars
And if
is
you are
supposed to
right
be.
about that, it will move up on my list.
Exactly, and that's why I do not have a problem with your argument. I think that will happen.
Okay.
I
Mike does it. Mike thinks we're going to get the original trilogy over again with new
Yeah.
characters.
I disagree. I think we will get a new movie, but I think this was a calculated maneuver because all like Disney and Abrams and everyone knows where the prequels went wrong. It was deviating so much from the feel of the original story, that space opera adventure.
And this brought that back, for sure.
And it was exactly, it was calculated to remind you so much of what you loved about Star Wars. And yeah, it does have the drawback for some people that it may feel too shallow. It's just trying to rehash it. But I think it was a calculated risk that they took, and I think it. Box office shows it paid off.
It did pay
So-
off, no question.
I would say
all
it
right.
was the only film this year that when I walked out of the theater, I was happy.
That's the other thing too.
Still, just even thinking about it, it's like the characters mixed with the old characters, new characters mixed with the old characters. Like it was just pure bliss. Like
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I will go see it in the theater again. I can't wait for it to come out. I will buy it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just so good. And then look at the BB-8. Like
Yeah,
so
he's so
freaking
great.
cool.
I mean, I think BB-8 is the best robot of all.
No,
No,
I-
R2D2.
R2D2 is still the best.
No.
BB-8's the annoying little brother.
You just like him because he's glittery and new.
I actually like him because he has more of a personality.
That's wrong. That's not
See,
true.
I think he has more of a little personality, and I absolutely love it. I love BB-8. I love R2D2. Don't
I
get
can
me
never
wrong.
tell what R2D2 is thinking.
And that's what makes him so great.
But I can tell exactly what BB-8 is thinking.
That's because I think J.J. Abrams' approach to the droid was more Steven Spielberg than George Lucas.
I'm gonna tell you that.
I think that's probably right, and I think it's probably a wiser direction for this franchise to go more Steven Spielberg than George Lucas.
I don't know.
The funny thing about
We'll
R2D2
see.
is you get to actually put in what you think he's actually
I
thinking.
agree.
When you look at BB-8 and you watch BB-8, it's like, oh yeah, he said that. No, you can put whatever you're thinking R2D2 is saying or doing and make it your own.
But in all fairness, we have Chewie for that too.
But can
Chewie does the
R2D2 light
same
a
thing.
lighter and give a thumbs up?
All right, so Catherine,
Probably,
it was also your
honestly.
number one.
It was also my number
would
one.
be giving you a finger.
I absolutely adore the new characters.
Except for Finn.
And that's where we differ because Finn's my favorite.
That's
Finn
just
is
because
my,
you go black and you don't go back.
It's true. It's true.
my boyfriend's on this conversation.
He's
He
part black.
knows you.
Either way,
Which part?
no, I.
You know which part.
actually,
Sorry I asked.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I actually thought Finn was the wild card of this whole entire thing. Yes, Daisy is kind of Luke Skywalker, but she's so much more of a badass because she already knows what she's doing, and she
Go
already
right.
has she already has that much more of a hone on her skills. I don't like Poe is his name.
I don't like him either.
I do not
I
like
actually
Poe.
disagree
like
that
Poe.
she is a hone on her skills.
Unless they make
That's what's magic about her.
unless they make
She
Poe
does it,
and a
but
gay
she don't have a freaking clue what's
Okay.
going
But
on.
the thing is,
Zach, this is not a Star Wars argument. This is him talking about
Yeah.
why it's number
So,
one.
no.
Because we'll be here all night.
I'm glad you're moderating.
That's what it is. Yeah. But either way, I love those two. I absolutely adore those two. And then Adam Driver as Kylo Ren.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's everything you could ever want more. Plus, you kind of have that, like, since he's younger and good looking, you have that sort of, like, weird sexual attraction.
You have.
I love it.
I
Because
will
I
tell you.
come to the dark side.
You literally have me grinding my teeth thinking about Finn. Like,
Okay.
like the crap out
All right,
Yeah,
so
that's funny. All right, Dwayne, you're
I
number
guess
one.
over to me.
No, Finn's kind of a big
My number one was The Hateful Eight because I love Tarantino.
This was also my number one.
It's
Oh.
this movie, man. Steven and if Mike and Steven were there with me in the theater when we saw it. It is from Sam Jackson's first line about room for one more until that last shot. It's just so much fun. It's gory and it's spectacular on so many levels. I wish, if I had a complaint about the movie, I wish we had more outdoor scenes because
Yeah.
they were so beautiful. But
Mhm.
that's okay.
First shot.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that long back
Oh,
from
God.
the Christ sculpture thing. Oh my gosh, so fantastic, and the whole experience with the roadshow just added to that for me. The overture at the beginning.
Yeah,
the
I had to
introduction.
think a long time about this because I had to pull myself out of the film going experience because, hey, that second Star Trek movie, seeing that Enterprise in IMAX 3D was badass, and 6 months later I'm like, God, this movie's horrible. For me, this is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. And I'm not a Western guy. Mike knows this. I don't
Yeah.
love Westerns. There are some that I like, but generally it's not my thing. But this movie does all the cool things that you want from a Quentin Tarantino movie. It gives you badass dialogue and interesting and fun characters and humor and drama and action. But it also does some things that I love about grindhouse movies that are really difficult to do. He's talking in this movie, his social commentary. He's talking about stuff that has been talked to death about sexism and racism and all these things, but he does it in this post-Civil War setting and makes it fresh. Even if you don't agree with what he's saying, it's still so well done. And on top of that, he takes this low-budget movie, which it is a low-budget movie, and shoots it in this almost impossible-to-find format to make another layer of commentary about look what you are giving up as a film fan. This is what a real movie looks like, and we don't have that anymore. This 70mm is gorgeous.
And somebody who has the balls to film a movie that basically takes place in one room.
Yeah.
It's 70mm.
In aspect
But-
ratio,
but-
276.
But when he does that, he gives you one of the most gorgeous scenes in any movie shot in the last 10 years
Yeah.
for opening credits.
Yeah.
Then he moves the
Yeah.
rest of the movie inside, but even in those scenes, like we talked
It's
about,
still
the
added
scene
to it.
where they walk in the door the first time and you see the entire building, and not just that 70mm image gives you detail that we don't get in digital presentations.
No.
I'm a big fan of digital. I'm a big fan of digital for documentary because I think there's no reason to do documentary any other way. But I just love that he's hitting all these other like typical things that you see in a really well done grindhouse movie. Grindhouse movies in the 70s were people pissed off about politics or have social angst and they build it into a horror movie or a bloody western. Well, he did that too, but then he did so many other layers of storytelling and homage a genre of film in such a beautiful way.
I would like to say this.
This was the most innovative film made this year.
It is not my favorite Tarantino movie, and I won't go into the reasons why Kill Bill Volume 1 is still at the top of that list.
I love
but
that movie too.
I will say I put my DVD copy of Kill Bill Volume 1 so I could think about it and Hateful Eight, and Uma Thurman stared me down and convinced me that Kill Bill Volume 1 was still my favorite Tarantino.
See, what's fascinating.
This is
I like
a
to think
very close
If he
second.
wasn't watching the movie, Uma Thurman
Yeah.
just came over and looked Dwayne in the eye while he was eating breakfast.
Well, she's
one
not
morning.
doing much these days, so she decided
You
to have a
know,
little
and then the
breakfast with
movie,
me.
I just love the name. The movie is hateful. The people are hateful in it, and it's got the social commentary about hate. I mean, it's all just dark and angsty, but still hilarious and surprising. I hope we get. Tarantino has said we're not going to get that 70mm version on DVD. I hope that's not
Are
true.
you serious?
He has said this is the only way you see this version of the movie.
That's
Well,
unfortunate.
and the only way it'd be that would be cool is like every maybe 5 or 6 years he puts it back out and
But
goes
see,
on tour again.
I agree to a point, you know, but I want to see
I wanna
the
see
making
that.
of. I want to see.
I was planning on seeing it 70mm again, and then I realized it's gone.
Yeah, it's
It
over.
was fast.
It's over.
It's gone. And I'm
It
like,
lasted
well,
longer than I thought it was going to last. If you didn't see it, you messed up. That's the best movie of the year to me. And I'm not a Western guy, and I have a love-hate relationship with Tarantino. But wow.
Well, I will say one more thing. Western didn't even really cross my mind watching this movie. It doesn't feel like a Western.
Well,
it is simply set in that time period.
It's spaghetti western
Yeah.
more than anything.
It's
Yeah.
Grindhouse.
I mean, it's even got a Morricone score.
Well, and see, that's the other layer. There's so many layers to peel away. There's like this bit of Morricone music from.
I mean, it's a Morricone score.
No, there's a particular bit of Morricone
Oh,
music
okay.
that's
That's-
taken from a
that's
John
really-
Carpenter movie.
Okay.
That this movie also, the thing that this movie also is very similar to in the claustrophobic feel of it. I
Yeah.
mean, it just goes on and on. This movie, it's a masterpiece for me.
It is.
Zach,
So moving on to the best movie of the year.
you shut up.
My number one.
I know you're number one, and it's not good.
It's not good.
Is that the name of the movie?
Is that the name? Because
If you say the Kingsman, I'm going to chug the rest of that Bailey.
Okay, so Kingsman: The Secret Service is
Hand me the Bailey.
It's not.
It's Black Hat.
No, God, no.
I almost
My
forgot
number
about
one
it.
is Sicario.
Oh, wow.
You know, by the way, I have a friend of mine who says that that's actually not how you pronounce the title.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did they say?
Sicario.
Sicario.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, so Sicario is in my opinion, the best film I've seen all year.
And I know why. There's one scene that jolted you into psychosis.
I want to know what the scene
What?
is. I want to know what. No, I want to know.
And it's super spoilery. You can't do
Oh,
it.
yeah, you can. Like
No, y'all
there's-
can talk about
no,
this off
there's
camera.
Yeah,
one-
yeah.
what is it?
No, you
There's
can't
one
do it because
scene-
people here haven't seen it.
There's one scene in this film where my jaw dropped.
It goes a place you don't think it's going to go, and it went there, and it did it very well.
I wasn't referring to anything to that. I was referring to
Overhead shots.
No, it's the cinematography shot of they're gearing up at dusk.
Oh,
Like pure
I've
dusk.
seen that done really well a bunch of times. It's,
No,
it's good,
no,
but
no, let me talk. Damn it.
you suck.
The cinematography in that scene, they're like disappearing into the darkness, and it's the last rays of light. And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh my God, Roger Deakins, how did you do that?"
Because you're Roger freaking Deakins.
I
He's
know.
always
Can
amazing.
you just be cinematographer for every single film, please?
Well, he's an old man, so it's not going to happen.
Well, I knew this trailer for this movie was absolutely terrible. It had me not looking forward to it. I went and saw it, and it just blew my mind.
I watched your copy of it, and I liked it. I would put it about 24 or 25 on my list. Just saying.
I would have put it in the probably teens, mid-teens. I enjoyed it.
I like the movie.
You can't say I didn't see that many films this year to
Yeah.
judge it against.
No, you're right.
This
No,
one
I do.
struck a chord.
My big issue is the main character. What's her name?
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt is usually pretty decent stuff. I found her boring.
I
She's just meh. And this character, she does so much with no information.
I know.
Like, okay, I'll do it.
Because she decided I'm going to go on this thing based on no information because I want to go get the bad guys. So when
But they never invested her character emotionally enough to sell that to me. I'm like, oh.
I understand that point. I
then
think
you have no plot. The
I-
movie doesn't exist.
I think Emily Blunt's character kind of works. It's basically you as the audience member, as the observer, have as little information and is just as confused about what's going on as Emily Blunt's character. I understand that aspect.
But you're law enforcement and you're putting your career on the line and you don't even know what you're doing.
No, I agree.
It's all done for a twist at the end.
The motivation to get to that step, I completely agree, is kind of like it's a weird random jump, and I ultimately feel like I don't know.
Banana.
The things I like about the movie, Benicio del Toro is
he's great.
Is a badass.
If your friends got hurt, and I came to you and said, "You want to go get the son of a bitch who did it?"
We didn't get one scene of emotion of her feeling that.
I can't.
We didn't get one scene of her upset.
We're gonna do, but we're gonna do it.
It didn't sell that.
No, I agree with Steven. It didn't sell that emotion well.
She didn't seem upset about it at all.
And also,
I got that completely.
No, I think not well enough. And also, but again, the things I did like, Benicio del Toro was really good. Yeah. I liked that Shane was a pervy creep again because it's Shane from Walking Dead, John Barathol.
Yeah,
he's basically Shane. That was essentially his character.
Yeah, that dude was he was good.
And but the overhead shots when it was like crossing borders and everything, those flight shots, those were gorgeous.
They were gorgeous. Yeah.
So it was a very pretty looking movie, and again, Benicio del Toro. I think Josh Brolin was really good. I think those performances were really good. Mm-hmm. I just didn't connect well enough with Jessica Chastain. I mean, not Jessica Chastain. Emily Blunt. So.
I liked her better in Wash, Rinse, Repeat.
I do like her better in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I mean, she is better in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I think it's still a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It wasn't enough to hit my top 10.
I think you got suckered by the beauty of it because it was Roger Deakins.
No, I got suckered by the direction. I got suckered by the cinematography. I got suckered by the tension they was able to do in scenes that had no tension.
What was this on?
I got suckered in by basically. I haven't seen Prisoners. I haven't seen Envy.
Prisoners is great.
Is fantastic.
Prisoners is better than this movie.
Fantastic.
I would agree.
Yeah, no question.
I think this movie's probably better.
Basically, I go home.
I don't know. Prisoners is gritty and good looking in its own
First,
dark
it's
way.
gritty, but I think this one is more gorgeous.
It is. Yeah, it is.
We'll pull up the Rotten Tomatoes on Sicario and see what it says. Let's look. Let's see. 93%.
Is that
Your Hateful Eight is down in the 70s. Sir.
Is this the last one?
Grindhouse movie. It is the last one.
All right.
Yeah. So
basically,
the upshot is you got a pretty substantial list of really good movies. I mean,
can I just say one last thing about Sicario?
Sure. Yes, you can.
Okay. One last thing. This is the writer and cinematographer, not the writer. This is the director and cinematographer that are going on to do Blade Runner 2. Oh my God, yes.
Oh my God, I'm worried.
What? I'm not.
What? Okay, whatever. That's my last thing.
I tell you, I think this is a fantastic.
My favorite things are the odd movies that I wasn't expecting.
Well, and that's the thing that it's about this every year.
And that's why I wanted to go ahead and do the top 10. If we only did the top 5, you see that we wouldn't be talking about the same movies. We have to do the top 10 because Catherine had movies I hadn't seen. Zach's had some that we didn't see. I mean, Dwayne had some that.
Well,
it's nobody else would.
That's the only thing.
Nathan had a couple that I don't know.
Only thing I'm a little bit disappointed about.
Nathan almost put 50 Shades of Grey on there.
Keep in mind, this is our personal top 10.
This
isn't America's Next Top.
Right, and this is why I wanted to hear why all of us
Thank you.
Like it for whatever reason.
Y'all can kiss my white ass because I really enjoyed the cinema that I saw this year, and y'all can suck it.
Nice.
I've already sucked through that movie. I'd rather not.
On that note,
so
he's got the willies.
Dwayne, where are we gonna find you on the internet?
So? Hey, I'm hanging out at the Four Kings Casino on PS4 at Dr. Worm75.
Nice.
The CR Worm75.
All right, Nico.
You can find me at all finer social networks under Nico Screen. I just posted a picture of the BB-8 here with Zach in the background on my Instagram.
Nice.
And and you could read all of our top 10 lists on the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll be going up tonight and tomorrow. Mike?
Obviously, you can find me at CultureSmash.tv and also at ClovisChitwood.com.
And I highly recommend, if you're listening to this and you're curious about our choices, go and look at the articles and see uninterrupted comments about why we picked what we picked. Nathan?
Find me on Facebook, on Instagram, 870471, and on CultureSmash.tv.
Catherine?
You can find me, Catherine May Holder, M-A-I. That's how you spell my middle name on all finer social networks.
Zachary?
You can also you can find me on Instagram, Master of the Matrix 91. You can also find me on Facebook, and of course, you can also find me on Steam, A Dangerous Lunatic. I'm going to be playing a lot of killing Nazis in Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Oh, I want to play that.
Oh yeah,
Yes, I want to
that
do
game, like,
Interesting.
there's a part where you stab a Nazi in the throat,
I want to do
which
that.
is violent enough, but then you like slice it out,
I want to do that.
and that's like the opening scene,
Oh, okay, cool.
which made me.
Well, it's Wolfenstein. You got to start with a knife.
Yeah.
It-
All right,
it's-
so you can find me on all social media, whatever's, whatever Nico says.
All finer social media.
Yeah, exactly, all that.
Sold
Just-
in your nearest
Yeah,
Walmart.
just Culture Smash. Just look up Culture Smash, and you can join this this here little chat that we do every week just by friending us on Google Plus. I know it's a sort of a dwindling population. Google Plus is struggling, and it just got revamped again. But that's the easiest way to do it. If you have a Gmail, just add Culture Smash to your circles, and you can come play with us. Next week should be all things go the way they should. We should be talking about Oscars. Correct? Isn't that what's coming up? The
Oscars noms are coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. So next week we'll be having our annual Oscar game, which is always a fun thing. Then the week after that we'll be back to normal. So
Well, maybe not normal.
normal for us.
Normal for us.
Truth. See you next week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Wingapo.